Oh yeah, good morning, good night, good day, good evening, good whatever time it is, whatever you are. Welcome back to Humanitarian Chronicles. This is Dr. David Osambla, the Dreadlock Doctor, or Rasta Doctor. I don't know how Rasta Doctor sounds, but I kind of like it. It's catching up. Catching up. Karibu sana, welcome back to this session, to my therapy session. You are my therapist. I am your psycho. I'm your psycho. Yeah. So yeah, welcome back to this. This is going to be traumas and triggers part 15. Yeah, I call it TNT, traumas and triggers part 15. And today we're talking about the dark side of humanitarian work, the dark side of humanitarian employment, the dark side of humanitarian workplaces. It's never glossy, it's never all that fun. As I keep saying, people assume that because you go to all these places, you seem to travel a lot, that everything is all hunky-dory. Is that what they say? Is all smooth and nice. So sorry about my light. I don't have a light coming from the top or from the front. So and this is the only way I can sit today because it will take a lot of moving around to set up the chair in a way that I am able to face some kind of light. These rooms are not very brightly lit. I guess again it's because they need to allow you to rest a little. So so we'll be talking about the dark side of humanitarian work, the workplaces more specifically. The humanitarian work itself, the mission fields are always dark most of the time. There's always something that is going on, something risky. You're always on the brink of death. You're always struggling. You're always facing a huge risk. I always tell people, me sometimes I think we've sat with death in a room and they're like, yo, see, what's up? Is it time? It's like, no, not yet. You do your thing, live alone, live alone, live a little more. Catch you later. And yeah, because the poisoning and the witchcraft, stuff like that, explosions all around, gunshots, Ebola, the risk of catching Ebola and all that kind of thing, risk of catching cholera in those places, being threatened to be killed, all that kind of stuff. It has all, at least for my experience, that all this has been part of my humanitarian experience in the workplace. So it's just a matter of time, I guess, in terms of when. I'm not saying that I'm hoping that it happened or that I wish it happened. No. Nobody wants to go. Nobody. Okay, maybe there's some people want to. Nobody really wants to go. But again, it's the reality. I always say life is very, very short, and it's much shorter for a humanitarian or an emergency responder or anybody who does the kind of work that we do, that finds himself or herself in these situations where you're risking your life for other people, risking your life even for yourself, but mostly for other people. When we do this, we do it for other people. We do it to go and save lives. We do it to go and make a difference. And sometimes there's the element of the money part of it. It pays a bit more. Not everywhere. You also have to look at which organizations you're working with, which places you're going to, and look at the risk factor. If you're going to really put your life at huge risk where you could easily not wake up in the morning, or you could easily wake up and find yourself dead, I think it makes sense to look at places and institutions and environments where you're able to earn a bit more, because it's your family that is left struggling after you're gone. When you're gone, you're gone. You wouldn't feel anything. You wouldn't know anything. That's what I assume. That's what I believe. You wouldn't feel anything. You wouldn't know anything. So you would be able to help them any further, at least if they can get some benefit out of it, even if it's just your last salary and there's something good that can push them through from that. Yes, the risk is too high. People say, similarly, Papa, you're being paid well. Yes, the payment is good, but I always remind them that pay is good-ish because of the danger pay, because of the risk allowances, because of that additional money you paid for you to risk your life. You are the one putting your life at risk. Most times, the person that is approving those payments is not even in the mission field. They're far away. Even if in the mission field, they're far away from the actual danger. You are the one risking your life. So somebody is compensating you to put your life at risk, because it is known that chances of you surviving are sometimes very slim. So the family might as well get something out of it. It doesn't replace you. It doesn't make it better. But at least get something that can sustain them for a few months, a few extra weeks after you've gone during the sacrifice. So yeah, my feed today, I'm rewinding this one. If I used this one before, I'm rewinding it because, well, free will. I can't. Anyway, it's still, what time is it now? It's 4:48 in the morning where I am at the moment, so it's still too early for me to start changing into new clothes. I haven't even gone to the gym. I might go to the gym this morning. I don't know, but I did the gym. I did gym in the evening. Yesterday evening, it was quite nice to get back. I'm hoping that I won't be in too much pain at some point. Chances are I will be, and I'll be regretting that choice in life. But who knows? I mean, who cares? Also, we need to, as I keep saying, small gains, big gains, all are good gains. We need to get these gains back. Man, I've lost all my gains, or at least the majority of them. It's been what, 3 months at least that I'm not trained. Okay, 2.5 maybe. Which month are we in now? March. Yeah, about 2.5 that I'm not trained. I've been doing calisthenics. I've done push-ups and stuff like that, squats, something like. But I've not been in the gym. I've not pushed weights for some time. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, Fit Broken Souls: Chronicles of a Humanitarian Health Worker, the book that I wrote, my second book. That Yeah, Broken Souls: Chronicles of a Humanitarian Health Worker. C'est moi. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that's the book that I wrote. For those who don't know, that may be new here. This book was born of pain. This book was born of hurt. This book was born of struggle, whereby I was actually, when I began writing this book specifically, it was in the middle of an all-night bombing in Odessa, Ukraine, where we'd been hit by ballistic missiles and drones coming in the whole night, basically. So we didn't sleep. So, but at some point, I think in the middle of all this, I was like, you know what, I need to take KG's advice and start writing my book on humanitarian work, because I might not make it. And if I don't make it, at least there will be something to show that I actually was in these places, and what I had gone through, and what others like me go through, and what we need. So this book is basically insights into the plight of humanitarians, the traumas, the struggles, the pain we go through, the fears we go through, that we live through, the masks we wear to cover all that when we're in the field. So when you're looking at us, we're smiling, we're happy, we look like we're okay, but inside we are broken. So inside we are broken. We are basically like this almost dying flower that needs to be revived, needs to be revitalized, needs to be to be rejuvenated, needs to be recuperated, needs to be brought back to life, so that we can continue serving those that we serve. And the bottom line, the conclusion of the book is a call to action for proactive mental health support. Proactive, not reactive. Reactive is what we have in most places, if not in all places. Reactive is when something has happened and everybody runs and scrambles to fix it. Proactive is when a system is put in place that is ready to combat anything that comes your way. And in this particular case, I'm looking at mental health support across the whole spectrum, the whole continuum of care. So before mission, during mission, and after mission, so that somebody is prepared mentally before they go in. They are told what to expect, how things are going to look like, probably even shown pictures and videos, not to scare them, but to get them mentally ready, mentally strong enough, and to make a decision: do I really want to go there or not? Am I ready for this or not? Then for them, once they're inside the field, once they're inside the mission, once they're in the trenches, then somebody is available in the background for a call, for a message that should they begin to feel they're crashing, should this responder begin to feel they're overwhelmed, they can reach out to somebody. Of course, part of the pre-deployment kind of sessions and briefings for mental health is also to help them, give them resources in terms of how to self-regulate, stuff like breathing in, breathing out, breathing for a particular time, how to meditate, how to take yourself to a positive place, so that you're not constantly getting bombarded by the bombs. Literally, sometimes bombarded by the trauma, bombarded by the weight of what you're going through, are not able to cope during a deployment. As I was saying, sorry, morning allergies or whatever it is. During deployment, as I said, is we need someone to be available for these people, even if it's just on call, even if it's on message, or whichever option is available at that particular moment, because mission fields can be different. You go to places like Gaza sometimes, South Sudan sometimes when things are bad, Sudan sometimes when things are bad, Ukraine things are bad, phone connectivity is shut down completely, no internet connectivity for days, for weeks. So in that particular case, then that self-regulation that you were given training on, or you're given resources on, can help you for a period. And then of course it's when it's available, then have someone that you're able to talk to. When there's connectivity, there's the ability to communicate outside of your mission field. Yes, preferably have someone in the mission field who is specifically supporting these responders for mental health. Yes, we do have psychologists and mental health practitioners and experts and psychiatrists sometimes in the field that the organization comes with for the community. Now, this person is also responding just like you are, so you can't expect them to be responding like you are, supporting the community with their mental health issue, then also be able to support you. I mean, sometimes we run to them because they have this understanding of how to dig into their mental health issues, but they're also traumatized just like you are, probably more, and they feel at the same time you are, meaning they don't have a debriefing with anybody until they get out. So sometimes it's difficult for you to go to this mental health person that has been brought in for the community to get help from them. They are also struggling at the same time. I've seen this happen, and sometimes we are like, I can't now go overwhelm my colleague with my own issues when they also have the issues with the similar setup that we have. Maybe more, maybe less, maybe the same amount. I don't know. So then we need somebody detached from the mission who is either there inside or outside, but who understands and is able to support you. Then the last part is post-deployment. Post-deployment, when you're going out or you've gone out, you need someone to talk to so that you can offload all this trauma that you've had. A professional. I keep repeating, a professional, not a religious leader. Not your friend that you always talk to and laugh with. That is cool. Those are good. But they do not know how to dig into their mental health issues that you may be struggling with and tell you that, listen, you have PTSD from 20, 30 years ago. A mental health practitioner that is trained as a psychiatrist, a psychologist, preferably psychiatrist and counselor, psychologist and counselor. Psychiatrists are trained at another level altogether, and they will quickly go to psychotropics in most cases, unless they have that kind of dual kind of thinking where they look at how to support your mental health issues first, mental health and psychosocial support, before they go into psychiatry, before they go into looking at a disease or a condition that might be there, could be there, maybe not. But you see, we need people who are actually just talk to you and figure out where your mind is, figure out where your darkness is, figure out where your demons are and where they're coming from, and how to tackle them and how to get them out. So a mental health professional, I repeat, mental health professional. I have nothing against religious leaders. I have nothing against religious authority. I have nothing against religious people who can help. If they're trained professionally, that is good. Trained and certified professional. Not that they're told in seminary, they're told in a workshop, they're told in a Bible school, it's important to talk to people and understand their feelings, understand what they're going through and support them. Because most of the time, they run back to pray. They run back to fast. They run back to seek God. That is good. If that is where you are, that is good. But that is not the full solution in most cases. I'll tell you for a fact. There are times that you've prayed. I have prayed. People have prayed. But that trauma is still there. It doesn't go away because someone needs to dig through it and sieve through it. There are sometimes we are getting triggers of trauma that happened 20, 30, 40 years ago, depending on how old you are. Some of us are 20 years old plus 31 years of experience. So, yeah, we can talk about 20, 30, 40 years ago and still have memories of those. Some may not be, may not have them. So you've had years of traumas that have been accumulating, but you've never dealt with them. And then they're triggered by something many years later, and you can't even figure out what it was. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. It took me a long time to figure out that I had trauma from over 20 years ago that was triggered in 2023 when I was going to Ukraine during the heat training, hostile environment awareness training, and a heat course. And it just hit me like that. It just fell on me, and I had no clue what to do with it. I had no clue how to deal with it. I realized later that that's what was happening, but not everybody can sometimes. I was just lucky that I was able to pick and figure out what had happened because it was a very close relationship to connect the dots between what was in the training and what had happened 20 years before. So sometimes your traumas are triggered and you have no idea what to do with them. That needs a mental health professional to deal with it and help you deal with it. Okay? Capiche? Понятно? Okay. What's the French word for pagnatna? C'est clair? I don't have an idea. Éclair? That one. Yeah. Yes. Oui. Yeah. So we struggle a lot. This book is written in a way that it takes you through every single, at least not every single, but at least most of the traumas I've gone through, most of the stuff I've gone through, the environments I've worked in. This speaks about environments all the way until a bit of Gaza. I didn't put Gaza inside here because by the time I was in Gaza, this book was already being published. So yeah, Gaza. The end of it is where you see a bit about Gaza in terms of the beginning of the next book. So yeah, I'm working on the next book already. I've had some kind of mental block, but also I didn't have my computer, so I prefer typing into the computer rather than writing on the phone. It's a bit difficult sometimes typing when I ideas are flowing, it gets very difficult. But I have the gist of the book, I have the backbone of the book. So yeah, let's hope that by the end of this year, the third book can be out. The first book was The Power of Passion, which was talking about my combining my talent as an actor, comedian, stand-up comedian, thespian, writer, all those kind of things, and my skills as a medical doctor to raise awareness about neonatal hypothermia, meaning basically newborn babies are struggling to regulate temperature by themselves just after they're born, and the need for space heaters, room heaters, which are a very simple solution, available, sometimes not available in public hospitals especially, but yeah, some people don't know, some people don't have the funding even if they know. So yeah, we were then distributing the heaters that we would get from the proceeds of these events, and yeah, distribute and transport them and donate them to random hospitals around the country. At least close to 150 health facilities across the country, different counties benefited from this, and 2 heaters went to Zanzibar around that time. So then this is the second book, Broken Souls, Chronicles of a Humanitarian Health Worker. This is my second book. It's quite big. It's quite a big book, 414 pages with pictures for those who are very pictorial, very visual. It's pictures inside there. Yeah. So that's it in terms of the books. As I said, I'm working on the third one, hoping to be able to release the third one very soon. I'm trying to find some photos here of something I wanted to talk about. I'll find it later when I get to that topic. Yes. So today, as I said, I want to talk about different topics. As I keep saying, sometimes we're in the field, you see us smiling and having this wonderful, strong look on us and wonderful, strong demeanor, like we can carry the world on our shoulders, we can push everything out of the way. We are not moved and we are not moving, but then what you do not know many times is that the struggle internally is much, much heavier than what we can accommodate, and it crushes many of us. Now, some of the things that we struggle with are not just the things we come with from home, but also in the mission field. So today, we will be talking about the dark side of the humanitarian field, the dark side of the humanitarian workplace, the dark side of the humanitarian mission behind the scenes, not what you see in the field when now we are there and we're supporting and we're helping and we're serving the community. What happens behind the scenes in the office, at the headquarters, in the office when you're sitting there, when people are doing reports or, after action review, stuff like that. That's what we'll talk about today. Remember, I told you that I'm going to be revealing some things. So this is for you to know. If you're planning to go into humanitarian work, have your shock absorbers ready. Because you usually we are hit from all directions, from internal directions, from people outside there, from the communities we serve, from your own family sometimes, from your own friends sometimes. The hits come from anywhere, and you need to be able to roll with the punches, or defend yourself, or say, listen, I'm done. I can't get too many hits. So let me show you this. I don't know if you can see this photo here. This photo, I'll talk about it in a few minutes time. This photo, I'm sure even as you look at it, it looks pretty ugly. That is supposed to be a water kettle. That's supposed to be a water kettle. I found this. I found this in one of our field sites when I was in South Sudan. One of the more volatile field sites in South Sudan. So the color looks. It's supposed to be white. It's supposed to be white. It was white inside and out when it was bought at some point. Now it looks like it has mud inside it. It was always leaning because at the bottom here is basically broken, not cracked, broken. There was nothing here, somewhere around there. It's just broken completely. So they had to put it leaning like this. So when they put water at 3/4, the water is at an angle, it boils that water, and then they lift it at that angle and make tea or make coffee or whatever it was, or noodles, look at how the plugs are there. Look at just plugging in cable. This is a humanitarian office, which was the organization was quite well funded, but for some reason their field office looked like this. Look at how they're plugging their stuff. Now, the reason for this is because HR never went to the field, ever, until it reached a point where I said, heck no. They now asked me, hey, why don't you go to the field and do this HR thing? Because the HR guy cannot go. I asked, why can he not go? What is he's not even a lady. Not that ladies have anything that doesn't allow them to go to the field. Okay, it depends also. There are places that they may not go because of higher risk of, like being kidnapped and stuff like that. Asked, why can't he go? Why should I be the one going to do his stuff? I come back and give him reports and he asks me questions I cannot answer because they are HR related and I can't answer them. Why can't he go to the field? Why hasn't he go to the field? All this time he's been in this country for probably like 9-10 years before I joined the organization. It turned out he was just scared. He was a big guy, huge, like huge, scared fellow, like huge baby. He would never go to the field until the day I said no. They always forced people to go on his behalf. So when I was going as a health coordinator, I was being asked to go on his behalf to go and do my work and also do his work, do his report. I said in the meeting, this guy is being paid a full salary as HR. He's being paid for the work he's supposed to be doing. He's being paid for the work that sometimes we are doing for him. I'm being paid extra. I am not going to do his work. I refused, and I went to the field and came back. They were shocked. It had never happened before. They were shocked. I said, no, hell no, I'm not going to do his work. I'm done. I did it once, and then I came back and I had so much trouble explaining and figuring out things. Then, of course, when you go and talk to the field in the staff about HR issues, they expect you to give them a response. When things don't happen, they think you are the one who is not putting things into action. They would ask him, and then he would use that as an excuse. Say, no, the guy who came didn't tell me these things. So he was using us as scapegoats for him not delivering. I said, no, go to the field yourself. So this time, I went to the field. And I'm here, I'm like, hey guys, can we have coffee? And they're like, oh yeah, but you know, we need to figure. So they didn't want to show me this because I think they'd been threatened at some point not to tell the leadership. I was in leadership, of course, as a manager. So they'd been told not to show this or tell people about this kettle. When I saw it, the first thing I did after I took my coffee out of that brown, dark looking kettle, I did an email that night. There was even no internet. But the good thing is Outlook, you can put it in Outbox. The moment you connect, it sends. So I put it in Outlook, put in an email and put on Outlook. And it sent the next morning. And I had to send, as you see in the caption there, I took me sending quite some very harsh emails to HR, CCing everybody I could CC. That, but I never CC people. This particular time I had to. And I asked him, honestly, people, this kettle costs, if you were to buy a cheap one, even if we did not have money, let's contribute money so that we buy this. And where they were was so deep in the field, they couldn't find a kettle like this in the shops. They couldn't find a kettle in the shops, so it had to be gotten from Juba. And I had to make noise. And it wasn't the first time, wasn't the last time. Probably that's why I get into trouble a lot. And I might get into trouble for this video today because I'll be saying a lot of things that not necessarily controversial, but true. And true, sometimes truth for people is not the best thing. There's actually one particular instance where truth got me into a lot of trouble. No, not once, not twice, a number of times. Yeah. So I sent an email and said, listen, guys, honestly, these people have used this kettle for 3 years as the way it was. It fell down once. I don't know what happened. I don't know whether a cow ran into the compound or a dog or a cat and dropped it and it broke open. And so they're using it like that. And I said, listen, these guys have used this kettle for around 3 years. They've been reporting about this for 3 years. I have email for 3 years. People have come to the field 3 years, more, and seen this kettle, and nothing ever happens. Apparently, when it was reported, HR said that there was no money for that. HR said there was no for a kettle that maybe would cost, if you went for the cheapest one, $20. An organization funded heavily. It was an organization, US funded organization, funded quite well, could not buy a $20 kettle for field staff in the field. The ones who are risking their life. Remember I said the people who do the discussions and decisions, who sit in the head office, in the headquarters, or are not in the mission field, but the people who are risking their lives for your organization to have a name and a reputation that can get more funding are not even allowed. They had requested to be allowed. When money was coming in, they would put it in their budget. It would be struck out by HR. It would be struck out by the finance guys because HR told them this is not necessary. He would hide that photo whenever they would show it. I went back with it and I put that photo splash in the middle of the email. I said, listen, this has to be resolved now. We are torturing our staff. We are causing them even more trauma by putting them in a situation where they feel they are useless and unseen and unregarded. That kettle was bought very fast. I had trouble after that because now I was being looked at squint-eyed or screw-eyed or dead-eyed or whatever it is. But the team got what they needed. The team had basic stuff that they needed that they had just been denied for whatever reason. First, because they were so far away, nobody would come to head office. Very few people come to head office. A guy would come to head office, a very wonderful guy, colleague of mine. I don't want to mention his name because then again, I don't want to put him in trouble. Of course, he's no longer there. That organization no longer works in South Sudan. Maybe they went back, but for a long time in South Sudan. He would come to the office. He was the county coordinator for that region. He would come to the office and bring all these complaints. Then he would be told no. Finance would tell him no. Finance was going based on what HR would say. HR was basically lying. The funding was there. These were cheap things that would have been bought like that. But they said no. So these guys were struggling. Another field office also, just because of HR, another field office. I told you about a field office we had in Moyo, Uganda, but then there's the Moyo South Sudan side. So the border, they are the same. Like you see Busia, there's Busia in Kenya, Busia in Uganda. So yeah, so this field office was set up inside Uganda, Moyo, because there was no field office inside the South Sudan side. It had been destroyed, and of course it was really dangerous even for them to go back and rebuild or set up again. And some of the staff could not now travel to South Sudan to go and do their work because they would be stopped at the border. They would be arrested at the border. Their visas had expired. There are South Sudanese nationals who are living inside Uganda, not because they want to, but because they have been asked by their employer to work there and they have accepted to risk their lives to work there. This is a place where a clinical officer was beheaded for political reasons by people he knew, by people who lived next to him in the same refugee camp inside Uganda. So staff were not able to travel and go to work, and then now a same HR who had refused to approve certain documents and refused to approve certain monies to be sent to them was then penalizing them because the worksheets were showing that they didn't go to work. They couldn't cross into South Sudan because they would get stuck in South Sudan and they didn't have visas to cross. The reason they didn't have visas is because, of course, the salary was not very much for national staff. That's unfortunate, but yeah, that's the reality. But at the same time, they had been requesting to be given an extra amount, which was probably like, I don't know, $100 for 3 months, for them to be procuring a visa. The visas were 3 months to 6 months. $100 from an organization that was heavily funded by the US, an organization that had the money that they could have done that. HR just said no. So it would be in the budget, they would remove. Budget would remove. And HR would advise finance. Finance never went to the field. By the way, Bro, you are a finance person. You are supposed to be approving things in the field. You never ever go to the field. The excuse always was that they would have been kidnapped by staff because they're in finance. They don't have the money. They know it was an excuse. These guys go and sit in the office in the headquarters and move nowhere. They have no clue why they are not approving. They have no clue why they're approving. So they depend on what they're told. And sometimes you have to justify it, make noise, cry. I don't know. People quit because they are frustrated and they come and shout in the office. But these guys can't synthesize that information because they are never in the field. They never step in the field. I worked in organizations, the contracts people who approve the funds, who are the ones who are the final say about the funding, refuse to come to the field. They always have an excuse why they can't go to the field. Oh, there's always something. There's a budget late. There's this thing that is running late. There's this thing that has to be done. There's a deadline that I have to fix. The people that are working, making it possible for you to have funds to approve and release to them, are struggling in the field. You are sitting in nicely AC cooled office and you refuse to fund them and give them because you don't see justification for that. This is why I told you there's a video I talked about, I think 2 videos ago, something when I had to record a snake that was about to fall on us. I had to go and record it and take photos and send to that organization. Before I eventually joined the fund organization, I was in this organization where I'm talking about, where the kettle organization. And they had refused to give funding for some renovation, very basic renovation, $50 per tukul, $50 per hat to put in tarpaulin so that the snakes and rodents don't fall onto people, but they slide and fall out from the outer side of the roof. They had refused to fund it. They had refused completely. So I had to show them a snake right on top of us, almost falling on us, and send that video, not just a photo, send the video for them to see. And I was talking in the video so they could hear my voice as I showed that video. Sold the video. You know where I come from. So instead of show, so that's when they approved. Because I wrote there clearly, if you do not do this for us, we are at higher risk of now even being bitten by snakes. They had no choice. Because I sent this to their bosses, I sent this to their finance bosses, the people who never went to the field, I sent, listen, this is what we go through. You never come to the field, you have no clue. That time I was still in the organization that was being funded by these guys. About a year later, or 1.5 years later, I went to now work in this organization. Of course, the boss. Again, I won't mention his name. You will know. Those who know, if you know, you know. Those who don't know. So the boss, I talked about him. I think yesterday's post or recent post in part 14. I can't remember. Yeah, and he saw that. He was like, wait a minute. He's a guy who used to go to the field. He's ex-military, so he used to go to the field. He would see some of these things. He knew. Contract guys, never. Finance guys in most organizations, never. So they approve things or disapprove things. We have no clue why they approve or disapproving. Many times they disapprove and they have no. So they leave staff suffering and struggling because they do not want to do that. That plug you saw that had cables basically into it. They just refused to fix it because they couldn't fund. And the time that the guy I was telling you about, the county coordinator, had used his money to fund something and fix it at his office, he was bashed. He was summoned to a meeting and thoroughly roasted. Not just roasted, he was whooped. His ass was whooped for ever spending his money and trying to claim it. And they refused to pay him for the money for buying something for the organization that was very much needed. So he stopped. Why would you want to be bashed for things that are not yours? He stopped. He was so demoralized. So when we fixed the kettle, stuff were like, yo, so these things can actually happen. David for king. Anyway, they didn't make me king, and I'm still 7 months jobless. I wish I was king by that time. Anyway, yeah. So I showed the snake on video and they approved. That's why I always insist, please go to the field. Please. I go to the field as much as I can, regardless of what position I've been given. Sometimes I've been in very high positions because I need to understand how my decisions are going to be made. I need to understand what people are going through when they're in the field there, why they say what they say, why they do what they do, why they act the way they act, because that way I understand. I am in their shoes. I empathize with them. But no, there are people who never ever go, but the decision makers. That's not just in NGO, not just in humanitarian work, it's everywhere. The politicians that make decisions sometimes for you have no clue. No clue. I remember when I'd come from, sorry, I'm getting to the story. When I'd come from hospital, I'd been admitted with COVID complications in 2022, I believe, in 2020? No, not 2022. So COVID-19 hit in 2021, January, I was admitted. I almost died. My lungs decided, you know what, boss, we have worked for how many these years we worked? See, we can switch off. I just didn't have oxygen in my body. I just could not breathe. Apparently, I had fibrosis from COVID that had eaten me 6-7 months before that, and allegedly part of my lung was just dead. So I didn't have oxygen in my ear. I was breathing but not breathing. So my oxygen just refused to enter my body. So they had to pump into me oxygen for a whole day at very high doses. Then admit me for, when now the diagnosis was done, they admitted me for about a week. And Dr. Erimu, I have your book. Yeah, I text you, you don't reply. Dr. Erimu is a chestologist. No, he's a lung specialist. And he took me through that process and he helped me. He was so focused, so concerned about me. Yo, Guru Nanak, yeah, that's where I was treated. You guys are amazing. I don't know what other things are there. I've had people have some comments about it, but when I was being treated, again, probably because I'm a medical doctor, when I was being treated there, I was given amazing service. The nurses, all the staff were amazing from entry to, I was walking into the hospital, I almost collapsed. The security person got a wheelchair, put me in it. Basically, I was not breathing. So imagine this, at that time my gains were still there. So I was like 90 kilograms of lean muscle, not breathing. I felt like an idiot. How do you not know how to breathe? Oh my gosh. Oh damn. It's hilarious now. It wasn't that time. I knew I was going. Dr. Makabane, thank you. Dr. Makabane is a medical doctor, did radiology. So he was the one who was in the radio department, was head of radio department in Gurman at that time. And so when he saw my name, he remembered many years before when I was doing trainings in HIV and TB, and I trained him. He was medical superintendent in Gary Hospital many years ago in the early 2000s, maybe mid 2000s there. I trained him. I orientated him on what I needed to train the staff in Nyeri Provincial Hospital. Now level 5, level 6, I don't even know. In HIV work, and I took him through step by step. He couldn't understand initially, and I took him through, and we became friends because of how I presented myself, how I presented the project and the stuff like that. And then he allowed me to do the training for the staff, and Nyeri just short in terms of care and treatment for HIV and TB patients. So he remembered my name. We had not met for many years. We hadn't even had contact. So he remembered my name, and he just ran to the room. He said, "Hey, Dr. Sample, I know you're in here." Yes, I said, "I'm Dr. Makabane." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you used to be MedSoup." Yeah, I was MedSoup. He was acting MedSoup. He says, "Yeah, I'm now in radio, and I just saw you. I saw your X-rays, and did you have COVID?" I said, "I had COVID." He said, "Yeah, no wonder you have fibrosis at the bottom of both of the lungs. So basically, your lungs are not. That's why your lungs are not absorbing oxygen. So basically, I was breathing in, but my lungs were not able to push out enough oxygen into my body." That's how I put it in simple terms. So he's the one who diagnosed that on the X-ray, then told the medical personnel. Because even when I was on oxygen, high dose oxygen for the whole day, I think for like 6 hours, they would do my oxygen saturation. It was still low. It was up. It would be up for a minute and then just go very low. And then I was panting and struggling to breathe. I could breathe. I didn't know. I forgot how to breathe. Yeah, so he's not only that, and of course, Dr. Irimu came and confirmed. So, yeah, it was post COVID, They admitted me, treated me, and I'm well. I'm well now. I'm well. I'm glad to be well. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. So, why was I saying that? How did I even get there now? Dr. Makabani and my COVID complications. I don't remember. You see how the problem? I merely blame my high blood pressure. I was told, Gyno told me, Gynococcus, gynococcus, told me that he reminded me that with those high BPs, memory can be lost. Me, I forgot what I was saying. Am I forgetting how to think? I'm forgetting how to remember also. Now, let's go into the topic so that I'm not rambling again out of topic, because this is crazy. Yeah? But you're my therapist. You should be writing these notes down and telling me. So you tell me. Okay, let's go to the dark side of humanitarian work, the workplaces specifically. So when I went to Liberia, I began my international humanitarian work in Liberia when I went for border response in 2014, November 14, 2014 specifically, Friday, we took off. We got there, so I've talked about the other parts of it. Look about Bong, look about the trainings in Monrovia, all that kind of stuff, cold training, hot training. I've talked about those. So during the time that we were settling in, there was this one guy that we noticed, very conspicuous. I think he was American, Caucasian American or something, or British. I don't remember his nationality. I don't even care. So we noticed very specifically. For me, I noticed because I had been in Russia for 8 years, as I've told you, doing medicine. So I knew I could see the demeanor of a skinhead or a neo-Nazi. These are basically people who decided that they hail Hitler literally and figuratively, that they respect what Hitler did and Hitler. And they want to follow in his footsteps. So in Russia, we would have instances, and I'll talk about it in another video if I remember, instances where on Hitler's birthday, they would go on a rampage and they wanted to at least kill a few foreigners in memory of Hitler. So it was quite crazy. So over time, that's part of why I actually went into martial arts. I went into karate, boxing, taekwondo. What else did I do? At least those three that I did consistently in Russia, especially. For self-defense, I eventually became a trainer in taekwondo, specifically. But yeah, I did that because I needed to defend myself. I was getting attacked basically at least verbally every single day. I would walk out of the house and the first thing is the N-word. For some reason, it's like it was just there waiting to shout. The N-word was waiting to shout at me. So the N-word was there, called monkeys, or called gorillas, or called baboons, or called all kinds of things, of course. And then at least 3 times a week, there would be an attempt to physically assault me. Every single week of my 8 years, that was happening. And many times I'd meet them, and all over the place. They were like cockroaches or lice on the balls of a camel. They're always there, somehow, always there, just, waiting, lurking in the shadows to come and pounce and do something. So, yeah, I had to defend myself. So, I never had to fight. I'm lucky. I don't understand how sometimes I'm so lucky. And that's why I wonder. No, I won't ask religious questions or spiritual questions today. But yeah, I've been so lucky. I've been so lucky in many places that other people have not been as lucky as I am. I've never been shot, but I've been shot at quite extensively. I've never had to fight. I never had to fight any of the racists, but they tried to, and I think maybe my demeanor and my posture and how I carried myself out made them realize this guy can fight or can throw hands or might be able to throw hands or is a very good actor. So I never got into those scuffles. I fought once in Moyale. I didn't fight. I whooped somebody's ass in Moyale. But that was not to do with this. But again, it was a xenophobic thing. He just did not like me because I was from down Kenya. There's down Kenya, up Kenya. So they are up Kenya. We are down Kenya. The guys in the north are up Kenya. We are down Kenya. Ngumu, Gurale. That's what they used to call us. And this guy just walked to me and just began insulting me. For I have no idea who he was. I never knew who he was to death. But he just targeted me and insulted me. I think he had been probably sent by the people who had threatened to kill me. And I whooped him. I just whooped him. And I regretted it because I was told, this guy would have died. He was drunk, would have died, and then what would have happened? You would have had a problem in your hands. And I whooped him in the Ethiopian side twice. Yeah, anyway. So back to this. See, now I've lost my whatever. So I was able to identify. I was able to identify a racist. I was able to identify a neo-Nazi. I was able to identify a skinhead. So this guy was a typical. And then his tattoos, of course, he had the swastika and all these other tattoos that they put on their bodies. Are typical. And they'd walk around. He would make sure he'd walk around shirtless, regardless of whether they're women or not. And the Liberia is hot, so that was his excuse. And then he had all these stickers on his, not stickers, tattoos on his body, all the swastika. We knew, I knew, and Gyno knew. Gynococcus, Gynoecius. See, that's your name. 3 names. Dr. Peter. If you read in the book, the guy who made yogurt in his room by just placing the cup of milk and letting it stay there for 2 or 3 weeks, and then he drank it. He took away, he peeled off the mold and whatever was, all the gunk on top of it, and the animals and livestock walking on top of it, and he drank it and was like, "Yeah, you want to taste something? You drink your own diarrhea." This is not bad in the UK. Pepto Bismol, where they sing about diarrhea. Anyway, so guy, Peter could see. Peter saw him, realized. I saw him, realized. Unfortunately, or fortunately, most of the other colleagues who were there had not had experiences with these people, so they didn't know. So he would just walk around and like, "Oh, nice tattoos," and they would pray. I'm like, "Guys, don't praise those tattoos. Those tattoos are not good. That guy has a bad intention." So this guy, in his mind, because he was Caucasian, he's Caucasian. I don't know. And his surname had B-U-T-T as part of the spelling, so he was basically a bat. Yeah. This is a guy who he found me in the gym one morning training, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm in the military. I was in the military. I was training martial arts and mixed martial arts and military capoeira and all that kind of bullshit. And let's spar. This I was still like gauging him, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to engage negatively or aggressively against someone, so that I'm not the aggressor. I know what he is. I know what he says. I know what he thinks." And in his mind, he believed that he was a medical coordinator because he's Caucasian. He had been told, everybody knew that the medical coordinator was Dr. David Wasambla, me. But in his mind, because he's Caucasian and the bosses were Boers from Africans from South Africa, the boss and his wife, boss and his wife, the two, like number 1 and number 2, and then I was number 3. Yeah, they were supporting him. I hope they went to America at the time when they were allegedly being evacuated for being afraid for their lives. Now they're complaining and crying that their life is not so good there. They probably want to go back to South Africa. Now they can't go back. Stay there. So these two guys, the man and the wife, who are the bosses of this team that went with us, were covering for him. And in his mind, and I think they had agreed with him that when we get to the field, they would push him up. This dude wasn't even a paramedic. He was listed as a nurse, as a registered nurse. He wasn't even a paramedic. I think he'd done some first aid, and then he had all these kinds of gadgets and shit he had bought from somewhere. I have no idea where he got them. So this guy comes to me one morning. I'm in the gym, and he's like, "Yeah, I trained this and this." I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of did a bit of training." Oh, he found me on the punching bag. I was throwing hands at the punching bag. I was a bit frustrated about something. He's like, "Yeah, let's spar." So even before we set ourselves to spar, he threw a punch to my face, at the same time threw a hook or something to my tummy. I saw them and I blocked both of them. And he literally jumped back. He's like, "Yo, okay, hey, you're good, huh? You have reflexes are good." And that was that. The end of the sparring was that, because he intended to hit me both times, or at least one time hard, and then claim he was sparring. So I blocked both, and he was like, "Yo, okay." Then he walked away. So I think that kind of got into his mind, like, this guy is not going to be a pushover. So this is the same guy who would walk around and call Kenyans baboons, call Kenyans gorillas, and call people the N-word, openly, and no one, and these bosses would hear, and they were like, "Oh, daddy, so this, I didn't hear anything, didn't see anything, don't say anything." Idiots. I was like, "Excuse me, did you just call somebody a gorilla, an African? You came all the way from Batmandu, from Afghanistan, because it looked like it came with something's bad, to come and insult people in Africa. You came to Africa, you hate Africans, you came to Africa to insult Africa. I know it's sometimes, that's why I said some people just go into humanitarian work for the money. He was there obviously just for the money, only for the money, and to feed his hate by insulting people in their own continent. And mostly it was the Kenyans. Kenyans are generally docile. By the time we throw hands, it takes a lot. I was like, excuse you, what did you just say? That guy, it was a joke. I told the bosses, this guy just called somebody a gorilla to his face in front of people. What can be done? They said, yeah, maybe it wasn't a bad joke. You do not do those kinds of bad jokes. I am a comedian. There are jokes even I cannot do, even on stage during a heated comedy event, no matter how liberal it is. And they covered it up. And the second time it happened, I just wrote an email to them and copied the bosses, the senior people in Nairobi and in this organization we were in. It was like, the cap, yeah, we'll deal. Of course, I think they would sit on the side like, yeah, fuck that guy and his fellow Africans. It kept on happening. I escalated it now to the donor. Kept escalating, and then now threats began coming to me. They began threatening me. So now the bosses would come, not the donor bosses, the bosses of this organization that we're working under, that was funded by that big donor. I've mentioned them before, so you can also go and connect the dots. That's your problem now. Senior lawyer. They might sue me for what? I haven't named anybody. If the shoe fits, if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, it might be a duck. Yeah. So I reported, and next thing I was summoned by one of the bosses. Like, hey, excuse me, we saw this report of yours, and yes, we know, of course, it might be bad, but why are you copying the donors? I'm like, I copied the donors because when I sent it to these bosses here, they ignored it. They swept under the carpet. I sent it to you guys. You ignored, swept under the carpet. So I copied them so that you can wake up and come talk to me about it. What did he say? Those days, I had very, very, not just photographic memory. I had a memory that would remember every conversation, every word for weeks, months later. So I was just memorizing everything I was saying in the meeting. Then I would go and just write them down, everything I said. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He said, I said, he said, I said, he said. I'm like, yeah. So we had this meeting, and this was said to me, and I was told never to report things again because I would be fired for that. And I sent it up again. So things continued happening. Eventually, at some point, I got fired because I was exposing too much. So these bosses also got fired. The guy, the racist guy, was fired for sure before me. Then they found a way to get me out because I was making too much noise. So they got me out, and another colleague who was also called David. Unfortunately for him, not the name, but unfortunately he was fired because they had to fire somebody. It didn't look like they were targeting just me, so they found a way to send the two of us away. Both of us are Kenyans. So they sent the two of us. I remember it was 15th of February 2015 when I was going home. And we were at the airport. I didn't even know. We were at the airport with the couple, the dude and the wife, who were like the administrators of the organization. We were at the airport. I was laughing. I was something. It was a fake laugh most of the time, but I would laugh. Anytime I would meet them, I would just begin to laugh. And they were so traumatized. At some point, they couldn't even find their way. They had no idea where their gate was. They had no idea where they're going to. They almost missed their flight to South Africa. This idiot that we were fired with went to help. I'm like, bro, what the heck? What the heck? I mean, I'm not a vindictive person, but this particular day, all my vindictiveness was like, yes. Let them get lost in Sierra Leone, Liberia, rather. F them. I was done with them. They had done things to me. I talk about this trauma sometimes happening before you go to the actual field. There was trauma. They traumatized me. They effed up my brain as much as they could. They did all kinds of stuff. The accusations, the thing they bribed national staff to create false accusations against me. I was able to give a rebuttal to all those things, and it was pushed back. So then eventually they were just tired. So tired. They went and fetched this idiot from the US, weird guy. This color dude came the day he arrived. The night he arrived like late in the evening, like 7 p.m. ish. We had just come from work, so we had just been dropped from the Ebola treatment unit back to the accommodation. We found some car parked and somebody offloading his bags, and he was introduced by now these bosses. They knew about it, so he was the one who was supposed to now come and set me up, like complete the setup. and claimed that I had done something wrong. So basically, they cooked up a story, and this guy eventually decided, yeah, they sent me for R&R. They sent me and this other colleague of mine, David, for R&R to the capital city. So that's how R&Rs were. They were supposed to be given tickets to fly home for R&R and back, but what they did is I think they ate our ticket money and then would send us to Monrovia to just go and rest for a week in the hotel and come back. So then they didn't have to spend ticket money. You're supposed to be in ticket money and per diem for your accommodation wherever you go, but they did that. So anyway, they sent us, and then these guys cooked up a whole story for a whole week. Then when we came back, we're like, yo, you're fired. We just arrived and we're fired. We were fired. And this guy, the day, that night he was arriving before the firing happened, suddenly he was like, yeah, so when we were introduced by this two husband and wife to him, he was like, okay, cool, so carry my bags. I'm like, excuse you? Carry your what? I should carry his bags into his room. I just walked. I said, oh, yeah, I'm good. I walked away. He was livid. Livid. I could see he literally turned red. He was crimson. I refused to carry his bag. I'm like, why would I carry your bags? Who are you for me to carry your bags? They just introduce you a doctor, whatever you are. I'm also a doctor, whatever I am. Why should I carry your bags? As who? So I think that fueled his anger even more. He came already angry. A guy who had never met me came angry, and his plan was the intention they brought him was as an investigator was to come and find a story or create a story so that then they can use that to get me dismissed. They had nothing else, so they cooked up some story. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, so I got fired. So when we went they pushed us out for R&R, we went back for a week. We got back, and there's this Ukrainian guy that was in the team. He was the logistics guy, a crazy guy, would drink and then say all kinds. So whenever I was drunk, he would tell me things and stuff. So of course, now because I speak Russian, we were very close with him because of that fact. He had someone he could speak to in his language, or close to his language, in a way that he could speak about anything. He felt at home basically because he had someone who he could understand and understood him in his native language, one of his native languages. Ukrainians speak both Russian and Ukrainian. So yeah. So when we were being picked, going now back to location after the R&R for a week, he was like, yo, David, you're fired. You two are fired. You two, David, you're fired. You're fired. He was like, yeah, I'm like, what's up? Yeah, no, you're fired. You're fired. He just kept saying, you're fired. You're fired. You're fired. Basu volili. He was speaking in Russian. Basu jo volili. Завтра уезжаете. Basu volili мне сказали, чтобы я приготовил машину, чтобы вас отвезти отсюда. Yeah, basu volili. Нахуй basu volili. Translate that for yourself. Basically saying you're fired. So tomorrow he's been asked to prepare a vehicle to take us away from there, the fuck off from there. So yeah, anyway, we got there in the evening, and this guy walks to me, this weird doctor guy, the suitcase guy. He's like, David, what are you doing here? I'm like, I've just come from R&R. You're fired tomorrow, leave the office. I'm like, huh? What do you mean I'm fired? Leave the office. There's no communication to me. He said, do not go to the office, leave. You're fired, get the fuck out of here. I ignored him. I had no communication. The donors hadn't communicated to me. I wrote an email to the donors. They kept quiet. Of course, they knew it had been planned from the donor level to the headquarters of these guys to this. I needed to go. And whatever they'd cook some trumped up kind of accusations. So anyway, next morning I go to work as usual because I had no communication. And this guy walks in and he's screaming from the gate like 100 meters away. Where is this Dr. David and why is he working in the office? Why the fuck is he working? Get him out of here. Get out. Leave. He's shouting. My first instinct was to get out and kick him in the teeth. Like in the back teeth. Kick someone in the back teeth. To the where the wisdom teeth clearly what removed from him. I wanted to do that. But I told myself, you know what? I have a career to uphold. So if they're fired, let them fire me. It's fine. If I need to fight, I'll fight it. So anyway, yeah. So I walked up. I'm like, what's that? He's shouting and screaming. Everybody in the whole Ebola treatment unit, the patients in the red zone, staff in the green zone, the community can hear. I mean, basically, even God had him. He was screaming at the top of his voice so that everybody could hear. And the F you, fuck him, get the fuck out of here. What the fuck are you still doing in this place? Fuck. So he was shouting at me and like, bring that phone. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, the phone is here. That small Katululu, that stupid phone, not even a smartphone. They couldn't even afford a smartphone. all the money they were getting, they gave me a stupid phone. I gave it back. I'm like, hey, here's the phone. Where's the charger? I'm like, nigga, relax, bro. The charger is in the room. I don't walk with the charger in my pocket. Like, go and get it for me. I'm saying you can come pick the charger in the accommodation. You fired me. I have no reason to come back to this place. I'm leaving. Get the fuck out. Go and pack your things and leave now. So of course we were driven to the accommodation, packed our things. David and I packed our stuff. Ukrainian guy was standing there at the door. He was given instructions. Make sure, as ex-military, you stand there so that they do not take anything. They should not take the bed. They should not take the door of the room. They should not take the window. They should not carry the women. Whatever they do. Anyway, he was there, just hovering around. So we packed our things. Not many stuff. Not many things. Suitcase. Into vehicle. Off to Monrovia, shipping us to go and get the fuck out of there. No tickets yet. Go to the hotel and wait for your tickets. Anyway, so we got fired. A week later, as we are traveling out, we meet this boss. So the boss and his wife also fired. That guy, the racist guy, the neo-Nazi guy, had been fired way before that. But then they were like, no, this guy is making too much noise, too much reputational issue for the donor, especially for the. That's why I always suspect that this donor, somebody in the donor organization, cooked up this organization. The moment the Ebola response was over for this organization and the teams were dispersed, it ceased to exist. You will not find it on the internet. It does not exist completely. It existed for that time. They killed the website, they killed the organization, nothing. It was specifically set up by somebody in the donor organization to basically mint money. Because we were supposed to get ticket money. That time tickets were costing, I think, probably like $10,000 just for a ticket because of the flight issues to the Ebola regions. So they never gave us tickets. We were never given. In the contract, we were supposed to get tickets and per diem for R&R flight back home and back, or flight to wherever. $10,000 plus I think another $10,000 for per diem and stuff like that. That never came to us. We only paid our salary, period. We were taken to the hotel and given some small money. I think, like, I don't know how much it was, $1,000 to spend for the week and back. The hotel inside the country. Yeah, so yeah, and other things. I'm pretty sure other things. I'm sure by the time we were being paid our salary, they're taken like slashed half of it and shared among themselves. So yeah, they needed me out because I was making too much noise. I was causing a reputational issue for them. Yeah. So eventually I went back to that same country, but another organization. Met the same donor guy who was the head of the emergency response, and he was very embarrassed to see me back. He never expected to go back. When I was going back, I told my new boss, Dr. Ziwe, remember I told you this, wrote and told him, said, listen, I was fired by the other organization due to racism issues, and they trumped up some false charges against me. Just so you know, Ziwe, amazing. Say, listen, David, fuck them. I know you. I've worked with you. I've seen your work. I've heard about your reputation. I know who you are. There's no way. So whatever they say, let them say. If they come, we'll fight them. Ziwe gave me a job. I was the training coordinator for that organization. Now, when I came, the second organization I worked for them. Then later, I went to Sierra Leone with the same organization as medical coordinator and field site coordinator. So yeah, that was the first really. I mean, I'd had in Kenya. Remember, I told you in Moyale they threatened to shoot me because I refused to steal money, or I refused to allow them to steal money. So I had a lot of this kind of incidents. But this now is specifically in the humanitarian field. So the cover up did not work because I was making too much noise. Maybe I should stop making noise. Even now I'm making noise, and they're going to probably look for me if they want to. Nah, do what you want, Kwani. The worst they can do, kill me. Have you ever been so unsuccessful that even dying was unsuccessful? Like, I didn't try, but I tried. Remember I told you when I was so frustrated with my check-up to age thing, my charity work, and I was done, and I couldn't understand why I was helping children and helping families of strangers, and I couldn't even help myself, and I said I want to die, but I didn't want to die. I wanted to die, but I didn't want to kill myself. I wanted to kill myself without killing myself, so I wanted people to kill me, and then they didn't kill me. I was unsuccessful in that. They poisoned me, they bewitched me, and they couldn't kill me. I was unsuccessful in that. Accidents have happened, I was unsuccessful in that. Bombs have dropped around me, and rockets and missiles, I was unsuccessful. Drones, I was unsuccessful in that. How unsuccessful do you have to be? You can't even die successfully. No, it's a joke, but not a joke. But it's actually true. That's why I'm still here, being unsuccessful at trying to die. Yeah. So that happened. That was in Liberia. Talked about Sierra Leone later with this second organization. I went with them now as a medical coordinator, as I said, and field site coordinator at some point. Yeah, I was poisoned and bewitched, and one of the people who planned this and actually handed me the food that was poisoned and bewitched was my colleague in the office. We were sitting right next to each other. Rogers, you know yourself. They tried helping you even in the past when he stole your car and you still were used and you accepted and you came and gave me poisoned food, which was bewitched. Your papa. Yeah. So there's that. So later, fast forward to South Sudan. Went to South Sudan to join this organization where I was working. I told you about one of the places where one of the staff had been beheaded. So that organization I worked for. If you've had my other videos, you probably now know the name. But again, it continued upon Tambur. So I showed you the kettle and how the HR just refused to approve, and finance also refused to approve because they never went to the field, they never saw it until I had to show the photo and make a lot of noise about that and many other things that were eventually fixed. Would costed not more than maybe $500-$600, which was available. Plus, they had received extra funding by a private organization that said, "Listen, we're giving you this money for the well-being of the staff." So it's stuff like this, stuff like setting up a gym and. People are asking for gym in the organization. There was money, but they just refused to. They said they couldn't justify to the donors where they're setting up a gym. I'm like, so there's money here. And I spread the money across the offices that I was working, that I was supporting, because I was a health coordinator, health advisor. I can't remember the name of that title, but yeah, health advisor, something like that. Health coordinator. And yeah, so I set up and I spread the money across and was able to justify for them. And at least every office had a small gym and some basic stuff that they needed that had been denied. I'm like, this money is here for well-being. Give them their well-being. Come on, people. What the hell? So they got that. So yeah, that organization had its own issues. Eventually, I left because it was becoming a bit much. My boss, what do they call, director of program, the DOP, for some reason just had beef with me at some point. Things were okay until he just began having beef. I don't know what happened to him. I probably thought I wanted his job. I have no idea. I left eventually. He left and I left. No, I left and he left. I can't remember. No, he left first. But by the time he was leaving, I already attended my resignation. Of course, and also they were underpaying me. They forgot one day and showed me the budget. And I saw that they were paying me half of what I was supposed to be receiving. And I was like, okay, people, are you going to pay me more? They said no. I told them, listen, the organizations that have people in my same level who are getting twice this amount, because we are funded by the same organization, funded by the same donor, who knows we are being paid this much. They are getting their full salary. I'm not getting it. Why? I think they were using that. They had financial problems, so they were using our money. They would cut or slash our money in half, every single person, without telling us, and use that to pay off their debts. They had debts in the US. So yeah, they basically used us as collateral. So that was that. The next organization I worked for, one of the nations. I worked for one of those organizations, and when I was working there, I was basically told at some point, I was the one who was in charge of infection prevention and control. I was an expert, or a consultant expert on infection prevention and control, and there were two positions that were recruited at the same time. So there was infection prevention and control and case management. Those are very different roles altogether. Mine was IPC, infection prevention and control. There was somebody doing case management. He even came and reported 2 days he was in Juba, and then he disappeared. But he was in the system, being paid for that position. But then, because he knew the boss, they were from the same country, he knew the boss, they found a way for him to be working elsewhere. So he was doing two jobs, getting two salaries, but then not in South Sudan, not working in South Sudan, but getting salary for South Sudan and another country, wasn't. One morning, incident manager wakes up and in a meeting decides, David, so you did case management of Ebola in West Africa, right? Right. How many? 3 years. Okay, cool. So you can do it. I can't do it. I do it with my eyes closed. So now you see, usually case management and infection prevention and control go together hand in hand. So we'd like you to take it up. I'm like, excuse you, in the meeting. I told him no. I told him my contract is very specific. My contract says IPC, not case management. I know from the document that you guys sent to us for the proposal that there is an IPC person and a case management person. I further know this because I met that guy who is supposed to be in case management. Where is he? He's engaged, blah, 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 blah. So we need you. I said, you don't need me. If you need me to do that, change my contract. Give me the two jobs and pay me for the two positions. I will do it. I know you're paying. I know you're paying him. But he's not here. I will not do his job. And they tried insisting. They tried saying it in meetings. He tried sneaking it into in a meeting when we were done. I said, yeah, so we have David here, IPC case manager. I'm like, no. I am IPC. I told him I am IPC. I'm sorry. There might be a confusion. I am IPC. There's a case management person, not me. So they kept trying. He went now to the WHO rep at that time, who was a friend of the guy who was doing case management, being paid for South Sudan, being paid elsewhere. And they tried insisting. I told them, excuse me, I have my contract here on my phone. If you want, we can print it. And it is very clear what my role is. And it is said that I'll be working hand in hand with the case management specialist or expert or whatever it is. Where is he? I'll be working with him or her. In this case, it was him. I will not be working for him, not be working in replacement of him. So if you want me to do case management, pay me for that. Give me a new contract. They're like, but you know, I said, no way. There's a colleague I met. He's now in WHO Afro. He's a nice guy, but also a liar, but a nice guy. So he was the only other guy who was in South Sudan who had ever gone for Ebola response. We were two who had ever gone for Ebola response. Physically, we were in the field as Ebola responders, like saw patients, treated patients. He was another guy. So two of us were in South Sudan at that time. Until now, a guy came and joined us as a vaccinologist. Now we were three now people who had actually been in West Africa in an Ebola response. The other day is just new theory. They were sitting in the office somewhere, head office, headquarters, sending emails. So they had no clue about. Even the assistant manager who came had never stepped in West Africa. He was making decisions that were very weird from books and theory. I told him, excuse me, sir, were you in West Africa? No. So you know this can't work. He said, why can't I? So I explained to him, oh yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, so what was I saying now? I've forgotten again. This memory of mine. Yo. Anyway, so this guy, the instant manager had never worked in West Africa, so he had no clue, making decisions without a clue. So I refused. So this guy I was telling you about, he's South Sudanese, now works in Afro. He knows himself. Yeah. This guy, I told this guy, dude, what is happening in this organization? You seem to be the guy that I can relate with. He speaks Kiswahili, so because he's raised in Kenya. So I'm like, yeah, but he's South Sudanese. So I'm like, dude, what's this whole thing? Then he told me, yeah, we are Africans. We do what we are told. What he said was, we are not Caucasians. We are not whites. Let me say word for word. We are not whites. Whites can come and talk about their contract, flash their contract, and refuse to do something not in the contract. But we Africans. I'm like, excuse the fuck out of you. Never tell me that thing again about we are Africans, so we should take crap from anybody because we are Africans. I told him no. Then I will be the first non-African African. I'll be the fake African. I refuse. Because they had asked him to talk to me because we spoke, we were quite close. By virtue, being both former responders in the Ebola crisis. They asked him to speak to me and they tried to convince him, we're Africans, we do what we're told, it doesn't matter what we're told, even if they had you work. I'm like, excuse the fuck out of you. No. And I refused. So of course that escalated, and of course people were not very happy with me, but I refused. So imagine now that going through that and being harassed and being threatened to the point now the boss of the department, the WHO lead, WHO emergency lead, began to try finding things against me, like why I'm not working. So one day just woke up and said, listen, the Ebola treatment unit that is being built needs to begin functioning by next week. It is your job, my job, to make it function. Remember, I am infection prevention and control expert. I am not Ebola treatment unit expert. I'm not Ebola treatment unit setup expert. There was a whole team that was supposed to be doing that. It's a process to set up an Ebola team. It's a whole process, setting it up, the flow, the patient flow, the client flow, the staff flow, the red zone, the green zone. It's a whole lot. All the engineering that comes. And they wanted to build a proper place that ultra modern, like a hospital, prefabricated but a hospital. So it was going to take time. That would have taken probably like minimum 6 months if it was rushed in an outbreak. So we came in for Ebola preparedness, or they say preparedness, Ebola preparedness. Because of DRC Congo that time was quite hot, and there were chances that fears that people would seep into the borders. That's how Ebola basically spreads between borders, and then from people to people, human to human. So yeah, they were afraid that there would be seepages into South Sudan. So I was to come and train people and help setting up like IPC protocols. I actually wrote the IPC protocols for South Sudan at that time. The policy, the protocol, and whatever it is, I wrote that. So This guy sent me an email and he says, I need to make sure that the Ebola treatment unit is functioning the next week. I wrote back and said, I'm sorry, but I'm not an engineer. One, I'm not a contractor. Two, I'm not a constructor. Three, so I'm not building it. There's nothing I can do to make it work if it is not there. It is way a long way from being complete. There is no way it can function without a green and red zone. There was no demarcation yet. I said the green zone had not even been constructed. They put in the prefabs for the red zone. There was no green zone. I said it can't work without a green zone. There has to be a green zone. That's a proper office setup, proper everything for an office and latrines and stuff like that for the staff. They are not there yet. And from what I've seen in the plans and the procurement process, they have not been there for a long time. He kept it. I said no. So he told the WHO lead, the former acting WHO lead, that David has refused. I was called in for a meeting. I said, excuse me, I fight when people fight. When they throw hands, I throw hands. You go lower, I go lower. This guy's been targeting me. He can't ask me and give me instructions and copy everybody that I'm supposed to set up to start to make the ETU functional, Ebola treatment unit functional, before it is even built. How am I supposed to do that? Put that out of my ass? So he said, okay, I understand, but you know how you respond. I responded to him kind for kind, vibe for vibe. He came at me and I came back at him. I didn't even say anything rude. I just put facts for him and wrote facts and copied everybody had copied. Plus the people in charge of engineering. He never got back to me. That was the end of the story. I was sent to Yei to stop making noise. Pushed me to Yei, and I'm happy. I was happy in Yei. Yei, I was doing. Oh, it was amazing with Julu. Dr. Julu, we used to call him Julian. I like to move it. Yeah, so we used to call him Julian, but yeah, Julu is awesome. Julu, wherever you are, you're a good guy. You're good people. Yeah, so again, imagine that, and that stuff, shit you're going through, and then you go to the field with it. You know, you can't go to any people, oh, dear patient, I'm being harassed by my bosses. So can you help me, help me? No, you put on the mask, you're smiling, you're strong, you go cry in the evening. My evenings were bad. Thank goodness I'm not a heavy drinker, and I wasn't then. There was a time I was, but then I wasn't. Because I would have died of alcohol poisoning due to depression. It was crazy. Anyway, so there was that. Later I left that. I got tired after some months. I couldn't take it anymore, and I just quit. I thought I don't want the contract. My contract was being renewed. I said, no, I don't want. I can't. I just do not want. It's not worth it at all. My shock absorbers were done. I left, took a break, went and joined now. Remember I told you that I was working for one organization that was funded by a fund, by a donor or a fund manager. So I went and joined the fund manager that used to fund that organization. So of course when I joined them, I'm like, hey, the contract guys are like, you were Sambela, you are the one who sent us a picture of a snake and a photo of a snake. I'm like, yes, I presented it. Remember, I said, now you come to join us. What will we do? I told them, listen, people, now you see me, I've been on that other side. And I've been with the partners. Now I've come to join you who are funding the partners. I won't make your life easy. You guys still don't go to the field. I will go to the field and come and embarrass you. Either you go to, they never went to the field anyway. They had a reason. They were like, oh, they'll kidnap us, they'll hijack us, they don't like us. They never. I don't know if they go now. That organization is no longer there. There's a new organization. I don't know if the contract guys go. They refuse to go. How do you make a decision about something you've never seen? How? Yeah, justification can be made, but sometimes you refuse because you don't see justification because you have no idea what they're talking about. When someone just says the snakes, you think, nah, snakes, what? Until I show you a video of a snake almost falling on your head, falling on my head, then you're like, okay, they are snakes. Idiots. Yeah, so that organization I worked for, there was this one lady. The funny thing is, when I released the book and put it on social media, she was writing and saying, oh, congratulations, Dr. David, that's a wonderful step in life. She either forgot or pretended or thinks I forgot that she threatened to kill me or get me personal and granted or both. So this is a story that happened. This lady was very rough. She's very rough, very combative, and for some reason there was this whole scuffle and kerfuffle between her and some other lady in the office, to a point that she threatened to whoop her ass in public in front of everybody in the office. So when I came back, I'd been on leave. I came back out of the story. I brought them in. I brought her in, talked to her about it. Brought the lady, talked to her about it. Brought the both of them, talked about her. This cannot happen. And it wasn't the first time. I said, I'm done now. We're trying to support. We've talked about this with you, with HR. I called even HR. You've been threatening this lady for the longest time. I don't know what she's done. Apparently, they'd worked together before in another organization. They had some beef from the past, family beef. They used to be friends and they stopped being friends and they found each other in this organization. I said, listen, what we'll do is this. I'll put both of you on performance improvement based on what HR has. It's the HR who told me that we need to do that performance improvement plan on this relationship and how to work effectively moving forward. It was a 3-month plan. Put both of them on PIP, performance improvement plan. Next thing, this particular lady went and apparently told somebody that she's going to talk to national security to get me PNG, the persona non grata, so that I never enter the country. If not, then she would get someone to shoot me and kill me. Information came back to me. I reported it officially. And also, so what do you want to do? Do you want to report her to the police? For what? I'm in their country. Nothing will be done to her. We know that. She has connection with national security. Nothing will be done. Even more, nothing will be done. Do you want to leave? Leave where? You guys don't have branches in an organization. Meaning, if I leave, I'm jobless. I said I want to stay. As long as they show me that I'm safe. So anyway, I'm alive, so nothing ever happened, but it was traumatizing. Now, all that, I still have to go to the field. I still have to be behind the office until the day she eventually left. She eventually left. She went for maternity leave, and then I think her contract was renewed in the process, and all this information was used against her. When I launched the book, she was among the first people who came and said, "Yo, Dr. David, congratulations on your book." And da, da, da. She didn't know that she's in the book because I wrote that in the book. Which book? Broken Soul. Which one? This one. You might be saying, you don't know what this Broken Soul. Broken souls. Me, I'm a broken soul. Damaged goods. These are the broken souls I talk about in this book. Not just me, but other humanitarians. Okay? I'm showing you the back so you see that photo of me. That photo. Oh, that's me. Okay, let's continue. So that's trauma in the office, and then you have to go to the field and face more trauma. That's the kind of life, the dark side of humanitarian work in the workplace, behind the scenes. So, I told you about the kettle. I showed you that, and unfortunately, we had to deal with that. Now, one of our colleagues, this friend of mine I told you was a county coordinator, had been trying to get funding and had used his money, had been threatened at some point and stopped, and he was very frustrated. So eventually, things went around, and we met in this funding organization, this donor, this fund manager. We met with him. Oh my God, met as in work together again. So working together. So this one day, our second year working together, he was supposed to go to the field. So you get per diem, it's approved, you go to the bank, pick it, and you go for the field trip. So he was I think it was a Friday. Was it a Friday? It was a Friday. He was supposed to go to the field on Monday, so he went to pick the money. So that weekend he has it. Monday morning, they take off to the field. He was followed apparently by a gang who followed him all the way to tracked him, I think, from the bank. He drove back to the compound. I didn't even know. I remember I had gone to the house to pick a document. The document I was supposed to send to Nairobi. I needed to scan my passport. I said I need to have it on my computer, on my phone. I rushed home, pick my passport. So when he was going to the bank, I left at the same time. I took a taxi, went with his car. I came back, and by coincidence, he was parking his car as I was getting out of the cab back to the house, back to the office. So I walked into the office, and he's gone to park at the end of the building, about 20-30 meters away. So I entered the office, scanning my things, and then he walks in looking very flustered. I'm like, "Hey, bro, what happened?" Again, I won't mention his name. He's in the book. Go read it. There's a story about it there. I'm like, "What happened to you?" He's like, "I've just been robbed at gunpoint." I'm like, "What?" But I thought I saw you going to park, and I went to the office out of the cab. So when did you succeed in getting robbed? He said just as he was parking. Apparently, as he was parking, this guy had been following him in a tinted vehicle, tinted window vehicle, parked right behind him. No, he reversed into his parking spot, parked and blocked him, so he could not drive out even if he wanted to. Got out, and they were very strategic because they were at a certain spot where their faces couldn't be seen by the camera. We had CCTV camera at the office at as many angles as possible, so they couldn't be seen by the CCTV cameras. And he was parked between two cars, so the one car was blocking him on this side. He was here, one car blocking him, and then they parked in front of him, so he's blocked. Nobody can see what's happening. These two cars are blocking, and there's a fence. A compound that was next to the adjacent, opposite the office, rather not adjacent, opposite the office. So apparently he came from the bank. These guys had tailed him all the way, blocked him. There were three. The driver was still in the car, had a gun drawn pointing at him. Two guys came out, guns drawn pointing at him, and basically, as he was trying to close his window, this guy hit him with the butt of his gun and basically discombobulated him. And they're like, hey, bring your money, bring your money, bring everything you have. So he had an envelope of South Sudanese pounds and a small amount of USD dollars, like probably like $100. The rest of it was converted to South Sudanese pounds. That's what you use in the field. So he had that, and then he had his phones. So they grabbed his car key, grabbed the envelope and his phones, and went to the car. Entered the car, and before they left, they opened the envelope. They thought he had dollars, and found it was USD. SSD rather. It was SSD, South Sudanese pound. So they basically like they F you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck off. You can't even go and withdraw good money. So they threw. He was still in the car. Discombobulated. His window is broken, and he can't think clearly. They threw his car key on the ground, threw his phones on the ground, threw the money on the ground because it was basically useless. It was useful, but they needed dollars, and then they drove away. So he somehow gathered his thoughts, gathered his mind, gathered himself, picked his stuff, locked the car somehow, and ran to the office. So ran to the office. The security guards had seen this car park, but they didn't know what was happening. They just saw some guys walking out. They didn't know that this guy was being attacked as they were watching. Then the guys drove away. They just saw a hand throwing things, so they didn't know. They thought maybe the guys are throwing trash after talking to him. And so he's explained to them what had happened. So he came to the office, flustered, and then he went. I told him, go talk to security, report it, then you can come back. Went to security. The security guy, rather than support him and try to figure out what had happened, began asking him questions as if he had gone and carried the thieves and brought the thugs to him and asked them to rob him. I found him harassing him. Yeah, so what happened? When did you park? How did you park? Why are you checking around you? Why are you checking your surroundings? Did you see them before they go to you? Did you see anybody follow you when they come from the bank? I'm like, excuse me, bro. Hey, relax. This guy is just gone through so much trauma. You can even see physically he's barely able to contain himself. His tears were just welling up in his eyes. He's traumatized. 3 girls at gunpoint. Why don't you allow him to settle first? Then ask him questions in a way that is supportive for him, not in a way that you're accusing him. So what was happening is the security guy was trying to cover his own ass because there were cameras and there were security personnel outside, and this thing happened right in front of the office and no one saw it. So he was thinking he was going to be blamed for it. So he was trying to push the blame on this guy. He's just come from being attacked at gunpoint. He still has problems. He had a cut on his head. No one has done passed it on that. He's busy harassing him. I said, excuse me, sorry, I'm his boss. I'm the manager of the department. I'm taking him out for this situation. You talk to him later, okay? He's like, no. This is my stuff. So I took him out. Went to the boardroom. I'm like, okay, dude, talk to me. Talk to me. So of course, I knew the story. He told me what had happened, and of course, I was very empathetic. I'm like, I'm so sorry about that. I asked him, what do you want to do? So he said, listen, what I need to do is report this to the police officially. He had some contacts he had mentioned to them, so they had called the police. They told them, so he was asked, he told, yeah, you need to go to the police. He needed to finalize the report with this guy. I told him, report with this guy. I will make sure he doesn't harass you. I will be there as you give him the report. Because he was being told to go and write it up. He can't even, he is barely able to sit without shaking the whole room. You want him to go and write a report? You take the report. You get his information from what happened. Then eventually I told him, listen, you go and give the information to him verbally. He will write the report, the security report, and submit it. You go to the police. I told him after that, don't come back to the office. His family lives in Uganda. I told him when I finish, organize so that first thing tomorrow morning, go home to Uganda. Go take a week with the family. He was like, yeah, but what about HR? But what about work? I said, listen, my friend. That was one of the few times I said, I am your manager. One of the few times I said, I am your manager. I am the boss of this department. I am telling you, you go. I will sort everything out. What about work? You go home. I will sort this thing out. Any work that was pending, I will fix. Don't even hand over. I will fix. We will find a way around it. Go for at least a week. Seek mental health support. I found for him. I told him, I'll look for someone to help you. I worked with. I called IMC. They had a mental health person that was there for other responders. So that was amazing. IMC, thank you, Dr. Abdu. Thank you so much for making that happen. Called IMC for him. Told him insurance will make sure they find for you a mental health person to take you through this whole process. And I sent an email later to his organization, because we were a consortium, to his organization. This has to be done immediately. Get him under insurance, somebody that will give him mental health support properly without him having to go into his pocket because you people are insuring, and that's part of the insurance, the medical insurance package. Pushed for that. I told him, you go home. If anybody calls you and asks to tell them to call me, I am your boss. I was like, I'm the captain now. Look into my eyes. Almost literally. Because a similar thing had happened to me. I needed to go home and address a medical emergency. And when I told Mick was like, hey, David, goodbye. No questions. Goodbye. Emergency. Goodbye. Find your ticket. Go home. Talk to you. If you don't have money, I lend you money. Go buy a ticket. Go home. We'll talk about it. We'll come back at him when you're done. So I told my friend. Oh, I almost mentioned his name. I told my friend, listen, go home. He went home. He was appreciative. I'm appreciative that he was able to come back. He didn't break completely. He came back and he was much, much better. My problem with that was this guy who was harassing him. Why was he harassing him? This guy has just gone through a traumatic, super traumatic experience. He was hit physically. Could have been shot because of money that wasn't even much. He didn't even go to the field. He's like, but I need to go to the field. I'm like, you're not going to the field. That field can wait. That field will always be there. You'll come back and find it there. You go home. Anyway, so again, imagine that kind of situation, and the people around you are not supportive of you, and they're basically shouting and trying to figure out how to shift the blame on you. Ukraine, remember I told you about the explosion that basically moved the room and I was sleeping, suddenly I was standing? Yeah, so I don't know if I've talked about this on any of the podcasts. It's in the book though, in summary. After it happened, mistakes happened. I remember when we were going to the field, because we were with our American bosses, Dr. T was there and M was there, you know yourselves. The driver was given instructions, very explicit instructions by the security guy. Number one, that we needed to carry our bulletproof vests and go with them to the field. Bulletproof vests, they're called bulletproof because they proof from bullets, not from explosions and missiles. But he was given instructions. Make sure that if anything happens, those bulletproof vests are with the team. They wear them. So he was given instructions. If anything happens, make sure. And so I was now the lead, of course, of the team lead for this trip. By virtue of being the medical coordinator and also being the staff from the country office. The bosses could not be team leads that come from the US. They'd been there before, but I mean, they were still guests. So yeah, we were there this morning. This thing happened, and the guy had parked his car and gave me his key. He said, "I parked the car here with the bulletproof vest in the boot. If anything happens in the trunk, if anything happens, you go open the trunk, get the vest, and come back with them so that everybody has them on standby." I'm like, cool. We had how many vests? We were 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Plus the mental health lady, the local Ukrainian lady, and the 2 staff plus myself. There were 4. There were 5 vests. So he took his vest with him home to the apartment, left the other 4 vests in the car for me to pick. As chance would have it, the next morning, kaboom. So the kaboom, all this thing happened. You know the story. It's in the book if you don't know the story. But you've been here before. So I'm running up and down. Ran, took my stuff downstairs. I remembered, oh shit, bulletproof vest. So I ran. I should never have done that. All my training, my heat training, my WHO, my UN training, SAFE, practical, I should never have done that. I should have stayed put in the bunker. The bunker was the one of the basement, the basement of the building. So I went to the basement, put my things, ran back out, went to the car, opened the car, picked the vest, ran back with them to the basement. So of course, as I'm running back now, Dr. T is already downstairs, and she's like, "Yo, what's happening? Why are you up and down and the explosions outside?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was given instructions. The driver was given instructions, and he was told to tell me that I need to make sure the vests are there." My mind that time was so discombobulated. It was the first time that was a strike so close that my mind was basically not working. I was on autopilot, and my autopilot was remembering the latest information that I had. I wasn't remembering the training I had before. So yeah, so she's like, "But David, that's even more dangerous. You going out in such an environment, you are even at higher risk. You know, we in the basement, you have to go out and pick them. As much as the door is just not so far, but you have to go all the way out of the building. Even if it happened, whatever happened to you. Plus, bulletproof vests do not protect from explosions. They won't do anything to us. There's no chance that these guys will come and shoot us with guns. They're not even. They're throwing missiles at us. So I'm like, oh shit, I messed up. But yeah, so of course I knew her report was going to say that, and the report said that eventually she called the country director and said, yeah, this happened, and there's a gap. I also said the gap. I actually have a whole skit about it. I have a skit about it, and I'll do it one day soon. As I told you, I do stand-up comedy now with the punchline comedy whenever I'm in the country. So yeah, maybe in one of the open mics or in one of the paid shows I will do it, or in the planned. There's something that is being planned by Punchline Comedy Club Nairobi. So we'll see where that story will come, but it's gonna come soon. So I had a whole skit about it. We laughed about it, but of course the report was made, and so eventually the the boss, when after the team had left, after the guests had left, the country director wrote a very scathing email about people not obeying the rules and people not remembering the train and people not this and people not that. And he wrote, and he said he wants a report of what happened and what is the remedial solution for this immediately. And the driver must never instruct officers. The driver must never this. I said, listen, guys. So he wrote that. He created a group on Microsoft Teams and was writing all these things about it. And I written an email. And then now my line manager was like, yeah, it's very, very bad that people forget their brains when things are happening. Yet they've been trained, blah, 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 blah. So I was ignoring this whole thing until now this attack came and people forget their brains. I'm like, excuse me, guys. I understand the concerns. I appreciate the concerns. Mistakes were made. I made a mistake myself, and I take the full blame for even going out of the thingy of the room of the basement to go and get the bulletproof vest. But I remember distinctly the security guy telling the driver while I was there to make sure that those vests are available whenever we need them. We just didn't carry them into the rooms as we should have, because again, it wasn't part of the training and part of the requirement to carry them to the rooms. But we should have carried them to the room. But again, they wouldn't have helped either way. But yeah, I made the mistake. I went. So don't blame him. He told me what he was told. He was told by the security guy to make sure that he told me whenever I was, because we were not in the same place. We were in the hotel. He was in an apartment elsewhere. So it's not his mistake. So because the instruction, the driver must never, security guy was being told, you talk to the driver, never ever to give instructions to the doctor, and to the senior people, and to the manager, and blah, blah, blah. It is not his job. He's not, hey. Basically, they're pushing blame to him because they couldn't push blame to me. They're pushing blame to the driver. He was a contract driver. I said, no. You're blaming the wrong person. If you have to blame anybody, blame me and my training. Number one. Number two, oh yes, the same day after this explosion, as we were driving back from the field, as we were in the field, there was explosion somewhere. So we had boom, 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 boom. So there was a missile somewhere quite far away, but we heard it. So we were like, yo, we need to wrap up and get out of here because they might get close. As we were driving away, we saw smoke in the distance, far away, probably 20, 30, 40 kilometers, just smoke. So a missile had hit. We had seen some light missile had hit and there was smoke. So we're speaking in Russian with this guy, like, hey, блин, Dave, мы будем говорить об этом или нет? We can talk about it or not. We're like, не, мы не будем говорить. Что скажем, если они спросят? Мы скажем, что там, может, там что-то горит. So what will you say if they ask us? The ladies were in the back. So if they ask us, just say maybe something is burning. So when they ask, we're like, yeah, there's smoke over there. We're like, yeah, maybe just something burning. Of course they knew that they're not new to war. So they knew it was a missile. So we said, yeah. So they're like, no, in future, if something happens, we should be told by the guys in the camp. Like, but it's not my job to figure out ways. I mean, I saw smoke also. I saw a light and I saw smoke. So whether it was something burning or it was a missile, what more should I have done? But anyway, so they complained, we should be important to give us that information. So anyway, so these guys are complaining, the boss is complaining, the country director is complaining on email and on Teams, and we are in this group, and he's now bashing us, and they couldn't bash me, so they're bashing the driver. So I'm like, guys, about the driver, it's very clear. He made a mistake, but he was given I had him getting instructions from the security manager to make sure that he does that. He told me I did. The mistake was on me. I should never have left the building based on my training. Then the other guy, the line manager, like, yeah, but when people are trained, they shouldn't leave the building. I'm like, excuse you. I know you guys probably have been in Ukraine longer than I am, and you're used to missiles and noise and explosions. I am not. This was my first missile. Regardless of training, we are not military. We were trained for a week. Military, they're talking about military people. They train and they don't react. I'm like, military people that trained for years in the same circumstances, so they have their shock absorbers strong enough to be able to know what is happening, and they're able to they've practiced mentally on how to react to these kinds of things. I was trained for a week. You were trained for a week. You guys have been here for almost a year before me. Maybe you've had missiles and rockets and whatever, and for you they're normal. For me, this was the first time, literally, as I said, I was thrown out of bed, or I jumped out of bed. I have no clue what happened. I was so discombobulated that the only things that were in my mind was the latest information that I had, and that was go out, get bulletproof vest, and come back. In hindsight, that was a mistake. But, however, But however, in such a situation, where is the mental health support for us? Because we are traumatized. I don't know about everybody else, but I am traumatized. No one has spoken to me. Nobody has asked me how I am. Nobody asked me what I went through. All I'm seeing is me being bashed indirectly by saying the driver made a mistake and the driver should never. No one spoke to the driver. No one spoke to me or to the rest of the team, as much as I know. I will have to seek my own mental health support after this. None of you are doing that. You've been here longer. This is a humanitarian organization. The least you can do is empathize and not bash. This is a learning point. Yes, I've learned my lessons, we've learned our lessons, but what you're doing now is not learning. This is bashing, and that is causing more trauma. I said it on the air, I said unpopular opinion, but I'm going to say this. I do not care what the repercussions are. I'm going to say it, and I bash and I hate back and I hate back and I hate back. I said I've been a mental health advocate for many years. I've been practicing this for many years. This is not the way to address this situation. It can be addressed right now, but in a very different way that has support and empathy and lessons learned, but not the way you're doing it right now. You are pushing blame, and you're pushing blame in a way that is accusing me of risking my life and the lives of others, which is wrong, but you can't tell me and telling the driver, and you're blaming everybody else. Training does not matter. When it actually happens, things change in the moment. Oh, the tune change immediately. The tone of the conversation. No. We're not pushing any blame. We're not trying to blame anybody. We're not pointing any fingers. In fact, the line manager. In fact, I even remember there was a training we went to, and we were being trained, and the trainer himself, there was a fire, and the trainer jumped out of a building, and he broke his leg, and now he realized even the trainer who's supposed to know. I'm like, yeah, that you're now saying that in hindsight after I have pushed back. Look at all the emails and all the messages where you are basically insulting us and saying how stupid we are, how we left our brains at home, how we left our brains in the room. How was it supposed to help me mentally? No, we are sorry. The CD texted me on the side. I'm so sorry, David. That wasn't the intention. I'm saying that intention versus what you said are very different. What you intended in your mind, I don't know what you intended in your mind, but what you said showed your intention, and that was to bash us and insult us. So any of the things change, I'm like, and then now I have to go back with that trauma and continue working. And I worked for another year, a whole year after that. I worked for 11 more months. Yeah, the masks we wear, the traumas you go through, the dark side of humanitarian work behind the scenes, the workplace. So, what's the next thing I'll talk about? So Sudan. When I went to Sudan, there's this line manager who came. I was again I was medical director then, and then I think it was head of operations who was now like my line manager. He was very new. He came after me, and he was told that there was a need to reduce the coordinators in the field, the nutrition coordinator and the medical coordinators in the field. So I had been told the same thing, but I asked him one question. So you want to reduce them, you want to fire them, not reduce, you want to fire them, and then bump up national staff, which is good. Nationalization is always the best thing to go for in the long term. You want to just push these guys out and push up national staff that you have not trained in program management, you have not trained in reporting, you have not trained in doing the work they're supposed to do. So once you push these guys out immediately, who is supposed to do all the reports and the work? They're like, but you're here as medical director. I'm like, excuse you. I'm here as medical director, seated in Khartoum. I go to the field once in a while when we are allowed by the government to go to the field. I can't report things I don't know, I don't see. And we had seen that the national guys, some of them are very weak in reporting, Not everybody is good at writing. I'm like, the reports they write do not make sense. You've seen that. Our staff who work with them every day for some 10, 20 years now, 15 years at least, still struggle to understand what they're trying to say, even when they talk and they're writing. So you want to find the people who understand the program, and then have the people who can't report about the program, reporting and program managing, and then I'm supposed to take all the heat. I'm saying no. I said, just give 3 months for handing over, for training, for building capacity, so that by the time the 3 months are over, then we are able to start dropping people one by one in a phased approach, so that it works out well. So I gave this information. I thought it made sense. Everybody's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Then when the new guy came, they're like, David has refused to fire them. You make sure they're fired. You have 2 weeks to fire them. Of course, he wouldn't fire them. He would have to ask me to do it. So I went to the field. I was in Janina. I was in the field. And the next thing I'm getting emails about, we need to fire. I told him it doesn't work that way. I told him, please refer to this communication we've had and this meeting we've had and the minutes about this that we had before you joined, and this is what would work best from my program management perspective. He said, no, this has to be done now. I've been told it must be done. So you do it. These guys have to go in 2 weeks' time. And then I'm like, so when they go in 2 weeks' time, who is supposed to do all the many reports to the multiple donors? Who is supposed to now manage the field sites, the health activities in the field sites? When the managers that are there leave and they have not handed over, they don't haven't built capacity, because that was never the plan. The plan was never like building capacity. It was emergency out. No one had thought about development things. I refused. This guy began now writing me email and he wouldn't even talk to me in the office, and because I did not follow his instructions to fire these people within 2 weeks, I said no. Reached a point I was like, you know what, this will not work. If you want, you can fire them. You do the email, you do the communication, you fire them. Then explain to the organization how we are going to be able to do this work without the people who know the projects. Yeah, things got so heated, I was about to throw hands. He never insulted me, luckily for him, or for me, or for us both, or for everybody around. But the environment became so toxic that I said, you know what, this won't work. Not toxic against me, toxic in terms of how the staff were being treated. And I was supposed to know. So I was now taking the heat, because when they were being maltreated or getting nasty emails, nasty communication, they would come back to me, and I had no idea what to say to them, because I wasn't even told about the things they were being told. So now I'm supposed to cover for or respond to those who report to me about things they are being told by somebody else that they don't know, I don't know. So I tried to find out what are these that you're sending to my team, sending to my people, to the coordinators who were reporting to me. They're like, yeah, we needed to do something very fast. I'm like, but I'm here. I'm the medical director. Why don't you let me deal with this in the way that is best? I've given a proposal on how it can be done best. Why are you doing all this? So eventually they were like, yeah, but we need it done. I'm like, that you need it done at the expense of everybody, mostly me, who then has to figure out how to fix things that are happening in, I think, was it 5 or 6 field sites, big field sites, when there are no staff there. And the capacity has never been built of organization. That organization had been there for close to 20 years. They never built capacity of national staff to take over. Now suddenly they wanted to just fire people, and then I am supposed to pick it up. I said, that can't work. So eventually I left, and yeah, I was out of work for 5 months that time. This was in December 2022, all the way to June 2023, when I now went for Ukraine response. Oh, this time in between was bad. Story for another day. That we'll not talk about today. That was enough trauma. Then I carried that trauma into Ukraine. I think that's why I was getting triggered on many other things. I was so traumatized. During this time I was jobless. That by the time I went to Ukraine, if I was broken goods before, if I was damaged goods before, if I was a broken soul, I was completely shattered. I was nothing. I was gone. No soul was left. I was basically dead. But anyway, yeah, so I'm still here today. I survived all that, and yeah, it was quite a tough time, tough for everybody, tough for the guys who were there. The guys in Sudan eventually, when the war broke out, was it February or March of 2023? When war broke out, these guys found themselves basically refugees in other countries, and I'll get their stories one day. I'll bring them onto the interview, onto the podcast when I do the interviews with other humanitarians. You listen to their stories. It was crazy. It was crazy. People telling me about, we had to drive at not less than 120 kilometers per hour, because if you don't do that, you'll be stopped and you're killed. Or we just ran and our passports were left. None of them had passports. Their passports were left in the office where they were supposed to be safe, and that office was bombed or something. I remember watching on TV with my children. I'm like, yo, that's our office. That's our guest house. Look at that. And you're seeing missiles passing or whatever was passing, explosions around the office, and people running with guns and shooting at the office and shooting at each other from the office. And like, that's our office, that's our building. I'm like, I would have been there now. Whoa, that was a close one. Anyway, none of my colleagues were, at least not there were no fatalities. There might have been a few injuries here and there. I'll ask them if they can come talk to us and let us know. So stuff. Now they're back in the field now. So we just always find ourselves back. always find ourselves back. Let's talk about Odessa. Odessa, when I went to Odessa, initially when I joined the organization in Ukraine, I was the medical coordinator. Then later I was bumped up to medical advisor, health advisor. Health advisor, basically I was overseeing all the projects in the country. Medical coordinator, I was overseeing the projects in my region only. In the rayon where I was working in the region. So now I was bumped up to health advisor for the country, meaning I was now supposed to move around the country, all the health offices, all the offices, and support the health activities, and of course representing donor meetings all the way in Kyiv whenever needed. This happened. The coordinator who was in the Odessa side, I mean, I was in Dnipro side, was on coordinator on the Odessa side. The coordinator on the Odessa side resigned, found another job, and we bumped up the national staff to become the coordinator. She is amazing. She was an amazing doctor, amazing at program management, amazing at her work, amazing at basically, she was amazing. So we bumped her up very gladly. She was able to do the job. But for some reason, the lady who was the boss in the Odessa side decided that I was not coming as health advisor for the country program. I was coming as medical coordinator to replace the international guy who had left. I don't know where she got that notion, but that's what was in her mind. So I arrived there, like settling in, and she begins giving instructions. She's like, yeah, David, you need to go to the field this particular day. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I have this activity, this meeting that I lined up in my new role. I just taken it up and moved to Odessa like a month after I took up the role. I'm like, yeah, I need to do this, and I have some national meetings planned with the WHO and the UN and other people. She's like, no, you don't have those. I'm like, sorry, what? My work plan is very cut out. I already shared it with everybody, even before I moved here, because that was what I'm supposed to do as health advisor. She's like, no, you're the medical coordinator. I'm like, I'm sorry, I am not the medical coordinator. I was medical coordinator in Dnipro. I'm coming as health advisor. I am not coming in as a medical coordinator to replace the guy who left. You have a medical coordinator already. We have Dr. So-and-so. She was like, no. As far as I'm concerned, the former country director told me that you're coming to replace the guy who left. I'm like, no, please look at my CV. And I look at my new contract again. I shared it. Look at my new role in the system. It's been shared. Health advisor. National health advisor. She was like, no, that is not it. No. And I remember about a month or so before that, I was on leave, but I had to join a planning meeting that was being done to plan for the next year. And I kept saying, listen, we've not had much communication with one of the donors, and since I'm coming in now to Odessa, and the donors based in Odessa, I was coming in as health advisor now. I'd like to meet the donor so that we can square out some things. Things that have been falling apart. I need to just square them out. Now as a health person and the health advisor for the country. And everyone was like, yes, we would need that, because there's only been this struggle about, her meeting, the donor lady meeting with our health staff, and there was no senior health person. The other health person before, the advisor used to be in the was in the US. So now they had an advisor at the country level. They're like, yes, that's it. That's the solution we need. We need someone who can talk her, be at her same level. So this was in writing, this was in email, this was in text, this was Microsoft Teams, and in meetings, minute. So I got to there, and I'm like, yeah, I told this lady, the line manager, the coordinator of this field office. I'm like, yeah, so I would like to meet this donor lady. She's like, oh yeah, I can give you the contact. She gave me the contact. I even give you the direction, and yeah, take an Uber. This is the direction. And she don't know what's up. I remember. She's like, yeah, but she's very, very good looking. So you need to go dressed up nicely, look all good and stuff, so that when you're meeting with her, you create an impression. I'm like, I joked back. I'm like, haha, emojis. No. I just go as myself. So I'll just be me, whatever. I never even met this lady before. So the day comes, I go for the meeting. That lady, of course, we discuss my introduction, blah, blah, blah. And then she lets me know about other things that need to be put in place by our organization. So I'm new in the site, I'm new in this region, so I didn't know a lot of this. So I went back to the office, did my report, immediately. I always do my reports as soon as possible before I forget. Read my report. I'm like, yeah, so we discussed this, I introduced myself, we agreed on this as part of the strategy, maybe to look at this. And then she talked about this report and that report and this financial thing, that kind of thing. So next thing is I'm getting Teams message from the country director. He was about to leave, and he was about to be replaced. He was resigning. Resigning and going to another place. So he's like, hey, David, you should not have talked to this lady about this. I'm like, no, but you guys, everybody knew I was going for a meeting, number one. Number two, I was going for introduction. Number three, she began talking. I couldn't walk out of the room. She began telling me things, and I reported what she told me. I didn't make any commitments. I reported what she told me, and that was it. So it's now up to us to figure out how to respond to her. He's like, yeah, but next time you're going to meet a donor who's very sensitive, you should talk to me, you should talk to us, or talk to the field site coordinator. I'm like, excuse me, sir. Yeah, as you can see from these emails and from this communication and what I told you, she knew I was going to meet the donor. She knew I was going for introductions. She gave me the directions. She gave me the Uber, whatever, and the corporate details so that I was able to use the office Uber corporate account. She gave them to me, and these are the communications. So there's no way she will say she did not know that I was going to meet the donor. She had denied completely. So I was like, oh yeah, she knew and we knew and we just forgot, but should I mean, what should I have done? I put there very clearly what I said, I did my introduction, and then what she said extra, and I just reported that for pickup. He's like, oh yeah, okay, I understand, we get it. They didn't get it, because now when the new director came on board, this lady now went and I think cried, and was like, yeah, so David doesn't respect me, David doesn't listen to me. I tell him to go to the field, he refuses to go, he says he has other work to do, he's the medical coordinator, he's saying he's not a medical coordinator, he's the health advisor, that's what I'm assuming the conversation went like, because when the new director came, I told him, yeah, there's some issues I need to discuss with you. I think we're not understanding each other with the field coordinator, and I need to pick up so that you can help me figure out how to make it clear. So we went with him. We just took a walk towards the beach, Dessa. So talk. I'm talking. Then his first comment was, so David, do you have a problem with her? That's what she had written to me at some point. She said I had a problem with her. I said, no, I don't have a problem with her. Why do you say so? She said, no. She seems to think that you don't obey her. You don't respect the authority. I'm like, no. There's nothing like that. She's not the first person I've worked with who, by academics, is one in a different field, two much lower than me, not even a degree holder. I've never had a problem with that. Never had a problem with that, ever. Number two, the communication was very clear. She was pushing me to go to the field as a medical coordinator, yet there's a medical coordinator. That's number one. No need to duplicate those two roles. Number two, I am health advisor. I'm not a medical coordinator. I was explaining to her that I'm not medical coordinator, I'm a health advisor, and I needed to go and do some work in Kiev, which had been planned already with other donors and other organizations as health advisor. And part of it was even to look at resource management and resource mobilization. And she told me categorically she does not know this thing about my health advisor work. She knows I'm medical coordinator. I'm supposed to come and replace the guy who left. And I pushed back. I said, that is all that happened. So she's angry that I pushed back and she does not understand why I'm not doing medical coordinator work, which means I should report to her, and I'm doing health advisor work, which is what my contract is, and that's what I showed her, that's what I told her, that's what my job description. It is not doing a medical coordinator. Plus, there's a medical coordinator in place. It would beat the purpose of having a medical coordinator, and I go as medical coordinator. Basically, what are we doing? Are we demoting the lady who has been promoted or what? He's like, yeah, I get it. By the way, there's a bit of confusion. You need to square that out. Yeah, but you shouldn't have gone to meet the donor without her knowing. I'm like, excuse me, these are the messages. I didn't show in the part of she's good looking, also not to put her in trouble. I should have. I was less combative then. I'm not that combative now, but I give less of a fuck right now than I used to give that time. No fucks left to give. I've checked my pockets everywhere. None. Maybe I'll wait for a fuck to fall from the sky so I can give. Right now. I know. Anyway, so I said, no, but here are the messages. Look, she gave me the instructions. She gave me the directions. She gave me the Uber corporate app account. She told me where to go. She told me the time to go. She also called that lady and told her I was going. Even after I had called the lady and told her I was going, she emailed her and she even told me that she's waiting for me. So where is this thing about me not having talked to the donors? That is not true. It's like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, actually, yeah, you did inform someone. However, she's your boss. She may not be your boss because you're a health advisor for the national office and she's the coordinator for this field site. But you report to her because from an admin perspective, anything safety, blah 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 blah, is up to her. She needs to know. I'm like, she knows everything. Yeah, but you need to respect. I respect her. There's no I have disrespected her. Oh yeah, I know you respect and I know that you follow instruction. I know that you do everything. I know that even the donor visit she knew about. But you need to make sure that you don't go against. I know go against her. Yeah, but you need to. I'm like, dude. So is there something that I'm missing? Am I missing something? Because it seems like you do have the correct information that I'm also telling you, but at the same time, you seem to want to stick to me being wrong when it is very clear I'm not wrong. And we didn't seem to fix that. Okay, we didn't fix it because eventually, for some reason, this guy now just became hostile towards me. I don't know what else they were discussing behind the scenes about me with this lady, but he was so hostile towards me. He would find every reason to blame, find every reason to throw blame at me. One time, there was an incident where, I don't know, one of the drivers had an incident with security personnel in the field. And this lady was on her way out for break, but she was still working. And she made it very clear to everybody she would be working all the way as she was on the train or whatever in the car up to the time she crossed the border. Then now she would stop. And so there was a time she knew when she was going to cross the border. And then she would hand over from that time to me as acting. So it was very clear who was still working. So this incident happened while already she was traveling out, but she was still working, and she made it very clear she was working until she crosses the border. And she would tell us when she crosses the border, then now I would take over. Incident happened in the morning. She had just left. She got all the report. I got the report from her. It never came to me. So then she forgot to send to the country director, the guy who now didn't like me because of whatever she had told him. Next thing, the guy writes me on Teams, David, this thing happened. You never reported to me. You are the acting, da 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 da. Why is it that this lady, I almost said her name, okay. This lady is the one who's telling me about this thing and she's on leave and all that. You're supposed to be in charge. You're supposed to do this and that. You're supposed to. I'm like, excuse me, sorry. She hasn't handed over to me yet. She's handing over when she crosses the border. That's the instruction she gave. So that's why the team, when this thing happened, talked to her, not to me. I heard from her later, from the team later. The report never came to me. So I could now give a report of something that wasn't reported to me when she's still at work. I'm not yet acting. I'll be acting after. Yeah, but see, just finding reasons. And then next thing he was giving instructions now to the medical coordinator, not to me. I'm health advisor, giving instructions to the medical coordinator. Then when things can't work, the medical coordinator comes to me to help fix and figure out. Then she gives a report back to him and even to the. So they're basically bypassing me and every discussion, most discussion. When time for budgeting came or when time for working with the donor came, like there was this big donor thing that probably being done. Suddenly, like, oh yeah, David should help. I'm like, okay, I'll help with my part. I'll help with the health part. Medical coordinators, do your part. Push it up to me. I'll fix. I fixed my part. Next thing, they're giving instructions to the medical coordinator, not telling me. Then now, when things get stuck, they come to me. I'm like, what's going on? I don't seem to understand. I knew, but I'm like, what's going on? Because there seemed to be some kind of passive aggressiveness and hostility being pushed towards me and pushed through other people to the point that now there was a donor meeting that was planned for. The country director met with the field coordinator and the medical coordinator and sidelined me. I think I was in the field, or I don't know, I can't remember. So they had this meeting, discussed. Then now they're sharing information about donor funding coming in without telling me. So it's the medical coordinator, who is my junior by 2, telling me, oh, but do you know about this? I'm like, no. And then she laughed and said, they left you out of the loop. I shared with you, this guy, the director said, the decision has been made, but they didn't tell you. And then he said, the only people who should communicate with the donors are this person and this person. Me, I was left out of the loop. I'm like, I'm the health advisor. You're talking to the donor health focal person, but I should be there. Cool. I wasn't even told. He told and wrote and sat in a meeting and communicated with the medical coordinator who was below me, the field coordinator who was basically my level because I was a national coordinator. She was field coordinator for one region and didn't tell me. So basically, if I was to go to the donor again and talk to the donor, I would have been in trouble. Probably to the setup. So this one time the donor needed something very urgently, couldn't find anybody else, and then she was calling me. I'm like, I text back at it, sorry, I can't speak to you. She called again, sorry, I can't speak to you. I can't talk right now. That automatic message. Then later I'm like, sorry, I can't engage with you because I'm under strict instructions that I should not engage with you. There's only so and so can engage with you. She's like, but they're not engaging with me. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't do anything about it. I'll let them know that you're looking for them, but I can't engage with you. It's something that I was going to solve. I could have solved like this. With my program management experience and my medical experience, I would have solved it like this. But because I was told not to, indirectly told not to, I said, okay, cool. I was our shambamba. So I didn't. So I'm carrying all this. I'd have to go to the field and put on a nice mask and look very happy and look very strong and look very good. In the evening, I'm livid, punching walls and go to the gym and I push out the demons in the gym and I go and throw hands at the bag and throw legs at the bag, kicking it and fighting it like the bag was a problem. It wasn't, but yeah. So that was it. Again, the dark side of humanitarian work behind the scenes. What happens in the office before we come to the field to you? Before you see us at the field, the kind of crap sometimes you have to carry from the office. Already you're carrying crap from home, then carry from the office, then carry from your boss, then go to the field and carry more trauma. And we look good. See us in the evening. When you see some of us, some people, not us, but you see some people drinking heavily, smoking heavily, drinking and smoking heavily, and doing drugs. They are battling demons you can never see. Sometimes they battle demons that even they don't know. Reality check. Last one, last story. When was it the Gaza project? There's this guy who was inside Gaza. Is inside Gaza. I don't know if he's still there right now. I don't give a hoot. Was inside Gaza. He was the coordinator inside Gaza. I was deputy coordinator working from the regional office in Cairo. So the reports coming from our department inside Gaza were always glowing. Everything was working. Everything was good. Everything was good. But once in a while, you'd hear the international team that was supporting complaining about things, but the report says it's different. These guys complained. When we asked, we're like, yeah, so guys, what's happened? These guys are complaining about this thing, but you told us everything. So I'm like, nah, ignore them. They're just being useless. They're just being stupid. They're just being that. They always complain. They're like babies, blah, blah, blah. So eventually I went into Gaza. This guy went on leave. I went into Gaza to replace him for like about a month and a half. So and that was the arrangement, because my boss in Cairo, who was the coordinator at regional office, is from Gaza. So there's no way he could go back to Gaza. He would have been either denied entry, or if he was to go in, would have been denied exit by the authorities. So then I was the only one who could go from this side to cover, rather than have people coming from headquarters to come and cover all the way. It's not cost effective. It was easier for me to go now from within the region. I went in. Gaps were found. I won't say the gaps. That's not in the book. That might be in the next book. Will be in the next book, I believe, when I talk about Gaza. So there were gaps. There were gaps in the system, and I reported them as gaps because I was being asked. I was the one who was acting, and so when the gaps were coming up, I was being asked. And I just said, yeah, there are gaps in our system, our department. Here locally and from Cairo, we need to just tie them. We need to tie the loose ends. We need to figure out where the issues are. Some things are probably formula issues in the system, and some things were just physical things that were not done or not being done properly here inside Gaza. So we need to fix them. And I took the heat. There were major gaps that would have gotten people either arrested or killed, foreigners, because of some gaps in the system, especially inside Gaza itself. So I did the report, and I always finish my report by the time I'm done with the mission, because I do it every evening. I used to do it every evening. I'm reporting for the day, then I just put it together, synthesize it, and send it out. So I did my report. I was done with the report the night before I was supposed to leave. This guy was supposed to come back. He was coming back in. I was going out. So he saw the report. He called me. He's like, David, yeah, thank you so much for supporting, for covering me. Yeah, but there's this thing, you reported about this, about the stuff there, and if it goes like this, the bosses won't promote this particular stuff. The staff was supposed to promote it, despite being so inefficient that, as I said, international staff could have been killed because of that inefficiency. And I didn't say it was her mistake. I said it was a problem in the department. So that we all take the blame. And cushion each other, but at the same time we fix it. And I propose solution. I sent out documents on how to do templates on what can be done better. So this guy was like, if you do this report, please remove that part of the report. I'm like, well, okay. But now remove the report. Already it's been seen, it's in the system. So removing it would basically mean we're hiding something. I said, okay, fine, I'll remove it. So I removed it in the main report, but in the summary, I left part of it there. There's this gap in the system. But then there's also the part of where this national staff that was there was always rude to everybody, pretty rude, and she was causing a lot of problems, despite having this problem already there. Because I said this staff needs to be trained. This staff needs to be trained on communication, on collaboration, on working with people, and on problem management, because clearly there's a problem. And even just understanding what authority lines are needs to be trained. So that had to be removed. I removed it in the main report, left a summary of it in the summary bit of the report, like the one pager, saying, there's need for training for this stuff. So it turns out I had unearthed things that were being covered up for almost a year or more. I wasn't told I was supposed to cover up. And even if I'd been told, I would not have. Unfortunately, I've always had this problem. So, what happened was, I didn't cover up, and now made us look bad, but this guy took it personally. With this, they took it personally. It was against them, and the way I did the report, I said it is a gap in the system, in the department, not a gap in them. But as far as they took it, it was a gap in them. And the guy was livid. He didn't tell me. Very sneaky guy. Very sneaky. Oh, thank you so much. Da, 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 da. That's wonderful. He got back. I don't know what they did. I was told later that they went and did reports. So they did reports against me. And they were like, there's no need for this guy to come. Even if that guy goes on leave, no need for him to come. He will manage when he's on leave. That's not supposed to be the case. When he's on leave, he'll manage from wherever it is. If he can't manage things, come back and so on. Nobody should come, especially me. No, I should not go. Yeah, no value added when I go there. No value add whatsoever. And they tried tramping up, like, yeah, I was rude, I was harassing the lady, I was this and that. Of course, that did not hold water because it was in public. I was never saying anything to her in secret. I said stuff to her in public, which were nothing other than you need to make sure you remember what the authority lines are. You need to make sure you remember how you're supposed to work. You need to make sure you remember that this should not happen in this particular way, and you put people at risk, and now I have to cover for that, and I have to fix for that, and I have to make things right. Things I don't even know about, and it was a gap that had been there for a year that they were just covering up. So of course, next thing was, yeah, they basically made sure I couldn't go back to Gaza. So whenever the guy would go and leave, he would write there, anything in this department of mine in Gaza will only be handled by me and by so and so. Nobody else. He could say David should not. Nobody else should answer or ask any questions regarding this department apart from the two of us. I was like, cool. I have no questions. I have nothing to say. He would go and leave. Or they would even be back, and some of them in the field somewhere. They don't attend meetings. I am being asked by the bosses. So, David, this is your department. What do you know? I'm like, I don't know. Me. Yeah, me, I know about Cairo. Me, I don't know. Sijui. I have lost the ability to count. Mauricio, I can't move it anymore. I can't move it. Other people, I can't move it anymore. Anyway, so that happened. So you can imagine all that happening against me. There are other things that happen. I won't talk about that because they'll be too specific. If they watch, they know. If you know me, you know us, you know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. Know yourselves. One day, you just wait. The next book I'm writing, I might just go cuckoos, shake my head. There are no dogs barking, or maybe there are too many dogs barking. I'll write all your names in the book. Anyway, just wait for me to fiat. Wait for me to fiat. You know what fiat is? Fiat. And then, let's take the gloves off. You might or might not be. You might feature in the book heavily. All this information, it's here. I have every single thing. I never forget. Then I forget when I'm talking in the podcast. Okay. So, memory full. Yeah. So all these things, this guy was doing all the cover-ups and all the nasty shit he was talking about other people was to get a promotion. He wanted to get a promotion, so he was fighting. He would fight in every way. That and more are in the book. That and more are in the stories talk about. That and more. Look out for other podcasts. Look out for other episodes. So that's the interesting part. That's the dark side. The dark side of humanitarian work behind the scenes. What happens in the office before we come out to the field? Sometimes we are bashed, then we come out in a mask, looking all good. Inside you're crying and cracking and breaking and dying like these dying rolls. And you go home in the evening and you punch a wall and you punch a bed and you do whatever it is and you're pissed off and you're living and you want to tell everybody to fuck off. Come back the next morning and like, I'm good. Yeah, so 20 Kazi, let's go to work. Let's do this. Come and do the impia, that's the reality of life and of the work we do. So if you plan to come into this field, come strong, shock absorbers, Monroe, or whatever it is, get them in. If you need brakes, Brembo, whatever the best brakes are you can find. You need gloves, buy proper gloves for whooping people. No, don't go whooping people's asses. Don't whoop people's asses, please. Keep it cool. We don't want people being beaten up. Yeah, so that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for being my therapist and allowing me to be your therapist, dropping all this on you. Just reality checks on what we do, triggers and traumas and triggers. This is part 15, I believe. So traumas and triggers, so things that happen like this. So when you go to the next field mission, something happens, it triggers a trauma from the past field mission. You might shut down, you might not shut down, you might fight, you might not fight, you might flee, you might not flee. FFF, fight, freeze, or flight, freeze, or fight. Flight, freeze, or fight. in the heat training in Amsterdam before we went to Ukraine. Heat is hostile environment awareness training in the heat course when it was being introduced. So I think 99% of the team that we were training with were people who had never been in any kind of combat. They were mainly like diplomats, diplomatic staff, people being sent to what are they called, embassies in other countries. So they'd never been, and most of them were Dutch. They'd never had a gunshot, most probably. They were like, we never had a gunshot. You've lived through gunshots, bombs, you've seen disease like Ebola, you've had grenades. What the hell? I was a star. So when the trainer I think on day 3 introduced and said FFF, what do you think that means? Some guy at the back of the room, fuck. She's like, oh yeah, by the way, that makes sense. We've never had that. I just write it down. Because yeah, it's basically, you're scared. Things are happening, so fuck. Anyway, so it's fight, freeze, or flight. So that's what it means. So I remember that FFF. That was just by the way, but also part of it, but also not part of it. But sometimes you want to just freeze. You find yourself freezing because you don't know what to. Sometimes you just want to fight because that's the only thing you have. Back to a wall you have to fight. Or sometimes you flight. You run away from things for your own mental health, for your own physical health. Thank you very much. So, more stories like that are in Broken Souls, Chronicles of a Humanitarian Health Worker, my book that I wrote. This is my second book. Where are the books located? Number 1 at Kibanga Books in the Nairobi CBD, Corner House, Kimathi Street, 5th floor. Nuria Bookstore, also in the Nairobi CBD, junction of Tubman Road and Moi Avenue, the Bazaar Building, 1st floor. The Bookworm Cafe, Gigiri Courtyard in Gigiri. The books are there. Yeah, good news coming up from there. Somebody saw one of the Instagram posts and went and bought a book. I'm like, yes, thank you. I don't know who you are, but thank you. Shruti called me yesterday. Shruti is the owner, the proprietor of the Bookworm Cafe. Yeah, pop in there. So the Bookworm Cafe in Gigiri Courtyard is number 3. We have them now in Nuria Bookstore has the Nyali branch. So the Nyali branch, I think, is at Links Mall. I will never be able to figure out and confirm. At Links Mall, I believe. So Nyali branch of Nuria has the books there. Signed copies, I believe. If not signed, please, next time you meet me, get me to sign for your copy. Also has it there. Then we have it in Ratworo Bookshop in Kisumu, Oginga Odinga Street, Alpha Building. Ratworo Bookshop in Kisumu has it. We have we are coming. There's what's coming up soon is we have them at the Organic Farmers Market in Karen. The Organic Farmers Market in Karen. Look for Grace. Grace's book stand. Pre-loved books, but Grace's book stand. Yeah, we have the books there at the Organic Farmers Market in Karen, La Terrace. La Terrace. In La Terrace. Inside there, you'll find it there on Saturdays. She's there on Saturdays, I believe. So you get there from 9 in the morning up to 5. The books are there at La Terrace in the Organic Farmers Market. And then Kobo.com. If your device is not Kindle compatible, or you don't have a Kindle device, Kobo.com has the version that you can download from there. Then we have Amazon.com. If you have a Kindle device or you have a Kindle enabled device, the system will tell you if you can buy it or not. It will figure out by itself. Then this next weekend on the 21st of March 2026 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. free entry to the Nairobi National Museum. There's the Kenya Museum Services, I believe. KMS pop-up market. It's a pop-up market. There's a lot of activities there, music, art, and all kinds of activities for children, for adults. Good activities. Even for adults. There are no fans only there. Anyway, yeah, and then we'll have book starts for new authors. I think there are 10 authors who are new in the 10 new Kenyan authors. I'm among them. So we'll be there with our books. Come talk to us, engage with us, buy our books, support us, and we will sign them for you. I personally will sign your book for you. Give me a note there. Squiggle some prescription with my name on it, and maybe it could be a Brufen, maybe just with my name, whichever. I don't know what I'm going to squiggle. Our handwriting is so bad as doctors that only pharmacists can read. So go get a pharmacist to read for you. If he says it's Brufen, take Brufen. If he says it's my name, say hallelujah, Berry. not Halle Berry, hallelujah. Yeah, so that's it. Those are the locations where the book is available. Please support, buy the book, spread the word. We need as many people to know what we go through as emergency responders, as humanitarians, as people who work in this field where things can sometimes get crazy, so that somebody can set up a proactive mental health system to support us. If not, maybe I'm lucky, I'll be the one to do it. As I speak right now, I'm in Edinburgh, about to go today to meet one of the lecturers at Queen Margaret University, where they have a whole master's course on mental health and psychosocial support and mental health in emergency settings. So who knows, I might join that course, do my master's in mental health in emergency settings, and yeah, help myself mentally, help other people mentally. Let's see how that goes. So thank you very much, and adios.